Yo, Calen.
How are you?
Okay, I gotta turn the music down. Wow.
What are you listening to? Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yes, but I was listening to music, so I could barely hear you. But I turned it down.
Oh, okay.
Let me change. I'm live right now. I just had a waiting screen up, but yeah, everything after a week. Make sure this is working. It is. Now that is working. Yes. Any way I can make the screen disappear. I'm gonna hide that. I have to put a I've been listening to been out for a couple days or so now, and I kept forgetting to check it out, but it's maybe it only came out yesterday. But it's the Steve Albini mixes of Fugazi's In on the Kill Taker that they recorded.
Oh, sick.
And they released it as a fundraiser for a charity that Albini was connected to and fond of. I think his white wife has a lot to do with it. But sorry, I'm always distracted trying to, at the beginning of this thing, I'm always distracted doing something, trying to like make stuff ready.
Man. Do your thing.
Yeah. What time are we at right now? It is 6:65.
5 to 7.
Yeah. Okay. Historical back. There. What's that? Picks. That's good. I need a backdrop picture that's going to it'll work. Okay, it works for now as a placeholder. Yeah, that works. Or less. Alright. More stories about torn scrotums. No more stories about torn scrotums. My god. I don't think there's any more anyways, but I'll have to confirm with Paul.
That's happened to a couple people I knew skateboarding.
Yeah,
You get
the one we're talking about is Sanders, which was nothing to do with skateboarding.
Yeah.
It was falling off a roof.
yeah, that's the story they're referencing. But yeah, you get card like that, anything can happen.
So far, everything we've talked about, we've covered a lot of subjects, but I've come to the realization that, like, because of like my neurodivergences, I tend to like reverse engineer every goddamn sentence for no reason other than wanting to make sure all bases are covered. I'm starting to learn, like, really learn a lot about myself in my post 50 years. But I know that I get in indulging in that. I know that I get caught up in stuff that probably isn't as relevant. So, and sometimes it brings something up that someone else catches on, and we rush off another tangent. Was there anything from the former discussions that you might want elucidated a little bit, illuminated more?
I don't think that your tendency to branch off into other areas is necessarily a problem. I mean, maybe if I had such like a strict plan for each conversation, but it's really not that strict. I just kind of want to keep it loose, and whatever comes up comes up. There's a general kind of framework that I'd like to keep to and cover in certain areas I'd like to cover, but we get there when we get there. And if it's kind of like a winding path, then all the better, because we just get a little bit more detail. I don't think there's any glaring like gaps in what we were trying to.
So there's nothing that's been headed off because we've like gone up on a tangent. We forgot to go back and cover some ground that was relevant to a question that we missed.
To my knowledge, no. I think I'm looking at like previous documents. Hey, Paul.
Paul.
Hey, test, check 1, 2. Hello.
Paul's here. That means I need to get a beer.
Hello. Can hear you.
Paul drives me to drink. I'll be right back.
That's good. How's it going, Paul? You managed to carve out an hour for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry about my.
Don't be sorry, man. Thank you for making the time. We're sorry that we keep taking up your time.
Okay. So
Nice.
I'm just switching gears, so I just need a second here.
Take your time. Yeah, Jay, I don't think we've been like missing anything, but like we're kind of where I want it to be, which is like, we've talked about everything right up to like the kind of the end section. So once we cover a few points from here, and then the beautiful part about all this is like other people cover each other's gaps. So like we've talked because we've spoken to so many people, yeah. We have certain things that people reference, but then other people go into greater detail with in their interview. So it's nice to be able to throw to them in between. It's kind of like you would see in a documentary, right? One person mentions something, and it throws to another person, and they expand on it. That's kind of how this book is going to be read, in terms of like, it's not going to be everybody's interviews one after another. It's going to be bits and pieces,
of course,
after each other. So you only just get like the relevant stuff. Not that
you get a good
irrelevant.
Get a good juicy quote or paragraph nestled between some relevant pictures that just sort of make everything pop. Like that's what I'm imagining. Because I saw your original like book design concept that you sent, right? So got a rough idea of what you're going for. Hello, Stephen.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey. We're all here.
He's all here for sure.
Bone shaker?
Yeah.
Nice.
I like tasty beers.
Yeah.
Check.
That's a good one. I think we're all good audio wise. Can everyone on the stream hear us?
I think so. I mean, if I can hear you guys, the stream should, because it comes right from like this one audio output from Discord itself. Trip says yes. Small Talk says yes.
Nice.
Paul,
are we all also recording ourselves separately?
Oh yeah, I gotta record.
I can hear things.
Hope we're not gonna crash the stream now.
You can hear us, or just in your mind you can hear?
In my mind, I can imagine what you guys are saying.
It was really useful that we all recorded ourselves, because that one stream where half of it it was only picking up your mic, Jay.
I
was able
haven't.
to patch it all together with everyone's separate audio files, which is really good.
I've been convalescing and like not doing much of anything, and I've not been making good use of my time off, like to be productive in this corner, because I haven't even like been able to go through the previous streams to look for clips, let alone imagine like setting everything up to edit to figure out a video to edit out of the content. So I mean, like, we'll see. But when it gets to that, like, there was, I think, a couple good morsels of a conversation there that your guys' audio wasn't working. So I'm glad that you guys did record that.
Yeah, we have it all. It's all good.
I think the agenda's weird.
I mean, maybe. What's that?
I think the agenda's weird. We're not actually covering all that stuff in the agenda. We're doing some other stuff that I mean, if you look at the questions are better. I don't know.
That's his recap.
I see. All right.
Yeah, that's just what we talked about last time.
Yeah.
So we're just looking at
the
a
rooftop
document together. That's why we touched on it a little bit. I think
We talked about Sander falling off it. I don't think I don't think we've really talked about the story of the rooftop, how it came to be. And there's a couple good anecdotes there too, really. But
Okay.
it was, the roof was always an evolving thing. It wasn't. I mean, I could talk about it now to start things off if you wanted.
I think, Paul, how much time do you have? When do you need to jet?
Yeah.
I have until 8, but I'm just kind of here for the vibe.
Cool.
Like,
Kinda here for the vibes.
Yeah, Paul's just here for the vibes.
Do you have a
I
T-shirt
will,
that says that? I'm just here for the vibes.
Yeah, just here for the vibes.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna roll with it, but yeah, I got about approximately till 8.
Well, listen, Paul. How about this? I'll talk about, like, tell some anecdotes about how some things grew, and then if you have some input, say, Jay, let me interject, and then we'll give you the floor. Because if anything comes to you think is relevant, you should speak. All right?
Yeah, I wanted to start with just an area where Paul would have, a lot to say. Maybe, which is, we sort of got towards the end, like the beginning of the end last time, which is like, how it ended up getting shut down, everything that happened on 4chan, the fire marshal stuff. But I want to cover, like, after all that stuff happens and, okay, we can't have shows here anymore. I just want to get into, like, there's like 8 years between that and that last show. What were those 8 years like? I know, Paul, you moved out at some point in those 8 years, but, having shows there was a massive part of what it's like to live there. So was there, like, a sense of loss within the house? Was there fear of, like, repercussions, financial or, physical danger? You played that funny prank on Jay where you made something that looked like a bomb and you taped it.
I have a related anecdote to that. You remember during COVID, Paul, I left like a cutesy Japanese stationery outside the house with, like, threatening messages on them. And I think I told you about it, but Andy thought it was actually someone to be worried about.
Yeah, I think I have a vague recollection of that.
It took, like, basically.
I mean, when I was in contact with Paul, Paul, you were quite hesitant to, like, say anything about Soy Bomb to me because you didn't know who I was. So that obviously comes from a place of, like, you're concerned about.
He kept messaging me thinking you were a narc.
No, you know what?
And I was, but I'm not anymore. So yeah.
You guys have probably picked up on it. We discussed a little bit. I am. I do a lot of risk assessment in general, and, like, even though Soy Bomb is gone, I still think of these things like, who are these people? Yeah, that's it. To answer your question, it was a lot of ups and downs, but I feel like the baseline just, like, dropped. I kind of feel like that time, like early 2017, was kind of like the start of Toronto's cultural downfall in a lot of ways, and I don't relate that strictly to Soy Bomb. I just mean that all these things happened at once, losing all sorts of venues, And I'm not saying like it's all bad or whatever, but I think we had a really, really good run to that moment.
Okay.
I mean,
I think you're right.
I will say
Jay.
from my perspective of Soy Bomb at that time, it just that was the thing one of the things I loved the most in my life, but that wasn't my basket and my eggs. You know how like you make your life, you put all your eggs in a basket. That was honestly always was like one of the most important things to me, like psychically, but had no bearing on the rest of my life whatsoever. Like my professional career is unrelated largely. My social life is somewhat related, but I've never indulged in my social life too strongly anyways. And Soy Bomb, while sometimes might make a bit of cash, usually broke even at best, never had any effect on paying for anything at Soy Bomb, really. Like,
So
But
the
those-
general feeling. Sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
But those were fun like the activities were fun things, right?
Mhm.
So from a morale or social aspect, they were the passion, the reason why, like they weren't the reason why Soy Bomb existed, but they fed people from an emotional standpoint, and then they kind of got taken away. It feels I mean, I get what Paul is saying with regards to it declining. And anyway, I'm just like I feel like it was kind of shitty.
it was super shitty, but much
It was
like any
super
kind of
shitty, and there were all sorts of shitty things that were happening
Yes.
around that.
Yeah, it was-
especially in
Right.
Jay's life, and then
for the next year, it was
and-
just one shit after the other.
and then we approached into COVID, and that had its own
Mhm.
experience that was positive and negative.
COVID was the crown of shit on top of my life shit pile at that point. Like from 2016 to 2020 was just constant misery, and COVID like capped it off. But as bad as COVID was for a lot of people, COVID is when I started breaking back out of my shell, coming back to connecting with people a little more. Weirdly enough. Sorry,
'Cause
Paul.
it was so shit. Like it had to get better
Well,
in one way or another.
I mean, I was at home and I was on the computer all the time, but I'm always interacting with things that intrigue me. And some of that was having the time to pay attention to what other people are doing from the community, other things that were going, things that I had purposely not paid attention to for 4 years at that point because of, depression and whatnot and grief and whatnot. So I started paying attention to the people again from like the DIY community, and that was kind of reinvigorated me. So COVID gave me the opportunity to do that again. But Paul, I just wanted to say, like, I would say, I'm not sure how you felt about it, Paul, but after we had to say, like, because it didn't happen all at once in our brains. Like the fire inspector showed up, we found out about 4chan, and we like called a dead stop to everything after a couple of days of thinking about it. But then it was just like there's a flicker of hope, like, well, what's happening here? What does this mean for us? Can we continue this in some capacity? Will we have to do it less often, but have to get special event permits or something? For a year I was attending city hall, like planning I don't know what you call them, like brainstorming meetings over different things, because like all this happening, all these venues closing and things happening to Soy Bomb, the DIY thing kind of imploding in the city, and all of the music and art that was on the margins at the time was all of a sudden at risk. Like it wasn't just what Soy Bomb was doing, it was everything that Toronto culture had sort of had its roots in was all of a sudden at risk everywhere in the city. All of a sudden, any kind of event that wasn't an official planned event with permits and this and that was at risk. And so and I think people in City Hall understood that this wasn't a good thing for the city and something had to be figured out. So I started going to, I think it was monthly or bi-monthly meetings with, like, there were some bar owners and club owners and promoters and there's like a label exec was there. There was like all these people involved in brainstorming what was happening in the city and the future of like art and culture in the city at the time.
Was the city actually paying attention to the things that they were bringing up?
This was
Were they invited to brainstorm, or were they injecting it?
So
like
the city was in the creating a new sort of department under that guy, the guy who like invented North by Northwest or whatever. I can't remember. He's like a label guy, and he had an apprentice of sorts, Cam, who became this head of this city sort of department, a small little like it was probably like a temporary like kind of committee based thing. Like we were part of a committee, but there was this department thing that was made that was to determine like the future of like music culture in the city. And I think it was probably a temporary thing. I don't know all the details, but all kinds of things came out of it, including the idea of a nightmare in Toronto, the idea of like having a more structural permissibility for like arts and culture in the city, because current structure, like we talked about last time, current like structures, laws don't allow for it really. Like I say, anything is illegal in Toronto at any time according to city rules. Like nothing is sacred. But anyways, so because of things like that, I always had a hope for a good year after the 4chan shit that there was room for Soy Bomb to possibly still be involved in Toronto's like gnarlier corners of being involved with Toronto music.
You were looking for ways to make it to get it open again.
Yeah. And after about a year of that, and so like, because at this time we're also like, we're fixing stuff. We had all these work orders from like from the fire department and from the other department we talked about last time.
We were hoping addressing those would
addressing that would open up the gateway to taking the next step. It's like, okay, we want to be legitimate, we don't want to be a business, we don't want to do this all this time, but we want to be able to do this as a special occasion. So what are the opportunities available to us? And being part of that Toronto municipal think tank kind of did open some possibilities out of that, but that's just the think tank process. Bringing that to something that's a rule change and an effective move forward depends on so many things, like so many fucking things. And
so it sounds like it didn't go anywhere.
I think it did result in a few things, but nothing that like basically like that's been like 10 years now almost. I think that some shit did come out of that, but nothing was going to come out of that was going to help Soy Bomb anytime soon. And at the ends of those meetings, like at the very end of that, I Suzanne and I lost our child. I was a wreck. I could barely talk to people. I remember in that time, like within that first week, because I'd already said I was going to, I remember I went to a meeting like a few days after we lost Wolfgang, and it was fucking brutal. But I held it through the meeting, didn't say much. Then I had a conversation with Cam waiting for the elevator. And I said, you know what? I don't think anything's going to come out of this that can really help us continue what we were doing. But maybe it's for the best. I mean, like he came from a punk and hardcore background, so did I, and we had this heartfelt discussion in the waiting for the elevator about how what happened at Soy Bomb was renegade, it was maverick, it was outside or on the fringes of like, cultural permissibility. And maybe that's where it belongs. Just because there are certain avenues of culture that are all of a sudden taking a microscope to everything doesn't necessarily mean that we should try and jump through hoops to make it permissible. Maybe punk and hardcore should just like, because we had a quick conversation about the timeline. Pre-2000, punk and hardcore is always kind of like underground, in whatever capacity. And then like the 2000s come along, social media comes along, all of a sudden culture and art is growing in a way outside of traditional structures. And it's blowing the doors off everything in terms of reaching people and changing like, cultural narratives because of how fast the art can proliferate, not being able to exist outside of the normal like access, all of a sudden artists and their communities and fans can go fucking ham and not have a single dollar behind it to push it. Like that's never really existed that much pre social media, right? All these new platforms are coming up, so things are going hard. And all of a sudden Soy Bomb got swept up in that arc, where all of a sudden like things that are DIY and Renegade are all of a sudden just under the mainstream. Like we hosted what's their faces? Guy broke his back on the ramp. Paul? Fiddler. You know, they never really became mainstream, but they're pretty well known. But they played at Soy Bomb after playing the tour opening slot for the Pixies that night. And it's just like the Pixies tour opener opened the show for the Pixies, then came and played Soy Bomb at this special show that Vice had set up. Like, it's this fucking weird thing where Soy Bomb got caught up in the ripples of underground art becoming all of a sudden just under mainstream, like just touching the meniscus, you know, the surface there. And that was when the old guard, when the 4chan shit happened, that was when the old guard started to realize the kids are acting outside of what we considered was permissible in our society. I think we got to fucking, like, you know, ram everyone back down. This is my sort of one of my takes. And it was kind of like, I do think, and I think now, like, a DIY approach to marketing yourself as an artist gives you all kinds of access still. But where punk and hardcore and Soy Bomb was, my conversation with Cam ended up in saying, I think punk and hardcore need to remain underground. And I said, much like how everything that's criminalized in society never goes away, it only becomes harder to monitor. This will happen. Now, instead of having events and spaces where everyone involved cares about what's going on, you're going to have events and spaces where no one knows what the fuck is going on, and people may or may not care because there's no intent or experience guiding these events. Like punk and hardcore is going to go underground. It's going to be more dangerous, but it's still going to exist. And I said to Cam, I said that's probably for the best. Soy Bomb is probably dead at this point, but everything that's relevant to the conversation from my perspective is going to go underground, and that's probably for the best. So at that point, a year later, that was the nail in the coffin for me for Soy Bomb. Paul? Sorry, and I was long-winded, but your take.
I agree. I concur.
You don't have anything to add from your memories or experience of that last year, the first year of the after death?
Yes, in different ways. I think there were other pieces at play that added to the dynamic. One is, I'm trying to remember the timeline with Cyclomotive.
They were there for a couple more years after we stopped doing shows. It was they didn't leave until they left just before the condo developers bought the property. I think, like, right. Within a year before. I couldn't exactly say.
No, they were. I think they were vacant during the pandemic.
Yes, they closed down during the. We think they were gone by the pandemic.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I remember a time where there was no one beside us, above us, or below us, and we could play drums whenever we wanted. This was. I
vaguely
remember that Street View. And Cyclomotive is there 2019 and 2020 it's boarded. It's like got the newspapers up on the windows. So you're right. They closed
just before the
pandemic. 2020. I'm trying to remember when they actually demolished the building north of us, but we had the fire. I think that was spring of 2019.
It's boarded up 2019, September 2019, I think, and it looks burnt on Street View. So I think the photos and videos you sent me were around 2019, late 2019. So this looks pretty recent on here. Yeah.
But yeah, and anyway, these were all kind of variables on the overall vibe. I'm having a tough time remembering.
Is that an opportunity though? Like, if there's no neighbors, you can actually do music anytime you want. Like, does it become a
not with that affidavit?
Yeah, that was Like again,
I mean,
we,
no,
we
no, just from a creative standpoint, like not an event standpoint, but from a
Right.
creative standpoint. Like if you're a
Yeah,
sound engineer,
we did a few things. We did a few things.
You're recording
roommates-
bands still, right?
I'm trying to remember. Respire LP3 we were mixing during the pandemic. I think we may have done some recording. It's kind of a blur, but we definitely would have used that space for something. And then there was during the pandemic, we fucked around and recorded a few things together as roommates. And it was fun.
Okay, cool.
Any
Yeah.
story-
So
is there any story around that fire?
Yeah.
Do you think there was any suspicious things around that fire?
No, it was so the barber who took over Corrado's business, his wife, who we lived with there next, like there was, if you look at the barber shop, there's the barber shop, and then there's a building to the left also owned by Corrado the barber, and Adam and his wife lived there in the first floor. And she had a child from an earlier relationship, and he was like a young adult. He lived in the basement. But I think this lad might have had might have been a drinker or something, and he, I think, drank himself to sleep one night with a lit cigarette, and that's what caused the fire.
Oh,
There's a bit of
wow.
speculation and hearsay from what everyone was saying in the neighborhood, so I'm not going to confirm that was exactly what happened, if he was drunk or not. I don't want to besmirch someone's memory. Seemed like a nice enough guy, but I heard that it was a cigarette that started it in the
when
basement.
did that fire happen?
2019, Paul. Yeah.
I want to say it was March.
when he passed away from that, he
Yeah, he
Yes.
was the only casualty, person who
Wow.
casually died.
Was there any impact on
Brutal.
Soya Bomb? Like, there was some video I
Yes.
think that you shared with us, Paul, that like of like a backhoe or a crane or something that was taking apart part of the building.
That was like
And it
months
looked
later.
like some of the stuff was being dumped on the rooftop of Soya Bomb.
Not intentionally.
Yeah, I
Accidentally, sure. Not intentionally.
the fire happened. We evacuated.
There was smoke smell for a while, especially in the hallway.
There was smoke in the stairwell. I mean, we were very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
The fire didn't
And
spread.
the wind was definitely blowing north that day, and it was very cold.
Even the football factory was spared, like that building.
And yeah, I remember there were firefighters on our roof trying to attack the fire, and there was a lot of wood. I remember there were piles of wood on our roof.
Yeah.
After that,
From the building?
No, from our roof. Oh, from their building. There might have been some, but remember, Paul, there was piles of wood on the building from me, from making planters and working on. I was working on that roof patio, always either repairing it and or expanding it for like 20 years. The roof work never really stopped, and so there was like a bundle of these lath boards, like old, like 100-year-old lath boards that I had up there to use as skirting for planters. Anyways, neither here nor there. There's a lot of wood up there that was from me.
I'm interested in that.
We'll talk later maybe.
I want to get
I built a planter like that myself, and it's a difficult puzzle sometimes. But you built a number of planters to grow food up there.
Yeah,
yes?
I would love to talk about the rooftop, but that is its own conversation.
Okay.
We have a limited amount of time with Paul, so maybe we'll save that for after.
Sure. We'll talk about it later.
Paul did utilize the root planters for a summer or two, though, because you became obsessed with making your own pesto and started growing basil up there. I remember that.
I was obsessed with growing marijuana plants, and I don't smoke.
I don't remember you doing that.
No, I had I think 3 plants, whatever the legal amount was.
Did it work? Did they grow good?
I had so much fun growing weed, and then I had a bunch of weed, and I was like, I don't actually smoke, so I think I'll just give this to people.
Just for the craft of it.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful to watch something grow in a very.
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
I don't
great.
smoke it, and I grew a plant just to try it. And I
It's
have like all
amazing.
this weed here that's like cured and everything, but I don't know what to do with it.
You can make a
Little
lot of
gift
friends
bag
with
in the
weed.
city.
It's funny that
What
we
I've
both did the same
discovered
thing.
is a lot of people smoke weed,
Yeah.
and they will gladly accept it.
So
Yeah,
as someone
I've
who
given
was
a bunch of it away.
and Paul
'Cause
being a
it's-
prolific sound tech at the time, working in various events
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
venues around the city, you probably knew a lot of people that
No
smoke
shortage
weed.
of-
Would you,
Yeah.
Paul, if you would go sound tech an event where a band you like was playing, would you just bring a baggie of weed with you just in case they wanted some?
No, because this was during the pandemic, and immediately, I mean, it was not difficult to get rid of said weed. I think I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. The roof is a whole.
You got
Don't
into
smoke
some
weed, it's a nice gift.
horticultural exploits.
I'll say this.
I was
remember-
growing
Oh, sorry.
hot peppers at the time, and that was so much fun. Just
Yeah.
making hot sauce and just like any variety of hot peppers, like super hots, all that stuff. I was growing them, making sauce.
You think
was
there's any
great.
way to connect hot sauce to your book release? Because we can do a special edition hot sauce. I grow super hots every year and make hot sauce every
Yeah?
year. Yeah.
All right, well, we can make something happen.
All
That's
right.
for sure.
Talk later.
All right. Yeah, I do want to get to the roof, and I do want to get to more of, you touched on a few things that I want to get to towards the end, like, what all the work you did kind of means for the future and anybody kind of like taking on that torch. But like you mentioned, we only have Paul for a limited amount of time. And one of the things I do really, really want to talk about is the kind of weeks leading up to the last show when you have to get out of the space. And to my understanding, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned you're the one that kind of brought the idea to Jay about doing one final show. And
I mean, I think we
and
both
kind of
would
putting
have
that together.
immediately.
Yeah,
thought
I don't
of
know
that.
who
Like, it
messaged
wasn't-
Yeah.
who first, but
It-
we talked about this years before. Paul and I kind of had like a pact, like if and when this goes down, we're gonna do something to the best of our ability to do. I don't know what we had in our minds when we talked about that, but we knew we were gonna do something at the end.
We
Yeah.
knew like very early on, and we had these discussions, and this was when shows were happening regularly. It was like we are very blessed and grateful to do what we are doing, and it will not last forever, and we know that. So like every opportunity is something special and a gift, and it's just not going to last. And when it does come down to it, then we're going to do our best to make it the best thing that we can. So when this whole thing was kind of impending, it was like, it wasn't like bringing up an idea. Like we already knew that this is something that we wanted to do. My memory of it is that I think when official dates were being talked about, I was on tour, was driving a truck by myself to the East Coast. And we kind of touched on this, and I did think there was a little bit of nudging because both of us were like too busy to like really think about it. It was like we would have had to whip some shit out of our asses in like a couple weeks or something like that.
It was literally, so we knew the end was coming, but okay, so leading up to the last show, we'd had an eviction order at Soy Bomb like a year or so beforehand, and we fought that. I mean, we went to the LTB, and that just by the act of fighting it, going to the LTB and getting a lawyer to represent us, that staved off eviction for a year plus, just waiting for that hearing because of still so much happening post-COVID. Landlord Tenant Board, LTB, their hearings were so backlogged. So it took a year before we got that hearing. And during that hearing, our lawyer tried to argue a certain precedent, but it was it was thin for what he was arguing against. But we put a lot of work into like impact statements and all this stuff. But when it came down, it wasn't an immediate decision, and the LTB said they were going to deliberate. And then a month, and I think, let's say this was September-ish, maybe August, and they took a month or so to reach a decision. And when they reached a decision, they said that we had 60 days at the end of the month to be out of there. So they got the eviction. And so
you had like 2.5 months to
yeah,
figure
2.5 months basically to figure out where we're going, whatever. Now, because of the agreement with the city, there was money that were coming from the developers to pay the I think 3 months worth of rent, moving costs. Like like given the circumstances, it could have been way worse. But the condo developers lied about everything they said during the hearing, and we're actually have another thing coming up because they lied about everything they said in their defense, and it really doesn't.
Isn't that so that they can get you out of there?
Yeah,
like isn't it?
Yeah, and they haven't demolished the building, and it's been empty to this day because I think they're too scared to actually rent it out because they know they'll be breaking a major faux pas. Like that's a rent eviction thing at that point, and I think there's more repercussions. But we're taking them to court anyways, like because it was everything they argued was in bad faith. Everything that followed that they did afterwards turned out to be not true. The things that they swore to in that hearing turned out to be out and out lies, and they knew were out and out lies at the time. And you could trace like some documents for that if you wanted to, but it's neither here nor there. Point is, we knew the end was coming, but we didn't know when. So we got the notification with 2.5 months. We didn't know this ahead of time. Like we just all of a sudden, you guys had 2.5 months to get out of there. So for the first month, everyone's just trying to figure out what the fuck they're doing. No one there. And it was like, Amy, Tim, Alex, and Stella that lived there at the time. And none of them had made plans to move anywhere. No one had a place to go. No one knew what they're going to do. No one had accommodated in their budgets. Like rent at Soy Bomb was probably the cheapest in the city. Like the rent of the place was like $3,100 or $3,200 divided amongst like 4 people. So like that's really cheap rents, and especially what you're getting for that rent too, right? But anyways, neither here nor there. So for the first month or so,
what was the hope though for that last show? Like what were you hoping? Well, like as a final hoorah kind of thing.
So let's jump to that. So now here we are with a month, less than a month left before the close, and Paul and I are messaging. I don't know who messaged who first, Paul, but we're like, are we doing something? What are we going to do? And so we both wanted to. And I think
wanted to, but both of us were feeling like
you were
defeated.
busy. You were busy too. You were busy, and I was like. But I was a bit more gung-ho. I was like, well, this is the last chance. And, I'm just around the corner, so it's no major for me to get involved in organizing it. But I was like, I want to do it. Let's just brainstorm who's around. Let's like figure out what of our friends from Soy Bomb are still making music now and would want to perform, and let's see what we have. 24 hours goes by, and we realize that no one's left. This is a startling revelation about just DIY in itself in a lot of ways, is that all of our friends from the city who were in amazing DIY post-hardcore bands, none of them existed anymore. And like 90% of them weren't making necessarily music anymore in any capacity. So
How did you choose?
We had a list. We had a short list of people we thought that still existed. So we messaged a bunch of people. What's that?
Looking at our list.
Yeah. Actually, we can see it right here, actually, because we were using WhatsApp at the time. Me and Paul.
I'm wondering, like, how would you pick something that represented, like, almost 20 years?
Because I think we were looking for our friends that like there are certain like people, like for example, like a lot. So
they were involved in new bands. Maybe?
So here's the thing: there were other things happening in plus minus a few months of that we thought might still be able to line up. So like the band Shit, they were looking to actually do a revival gig to kick off a tour or something, and they asked to do it on Soy Bomb, and I couldn't give it to them. But we asked them for this last thing, but it turned out Ryan, the singer from Shit, was literally leaving the country for Europe
England
that day, like that fucking day, like the Friday or whatever. So it was like, okay, Shit can't do it. So that was out. Right. That was one of our friends' bands that, like, not only is Shit like played a lot of times at Soy Bomb, but like Greg Benedetto would like book so many important shows at Soy Bomb, like so fucking many. So there's a connection there that was important to, if you look at what Soy Bomb did that was culturally relevant and important, Greg's a big core part of that, and Shit. So that would have been just a perfect fucking thing. And then they couldn't do it. So that fell through. Like in the 24 hours, we found out that wasn't going to happen. Alaskan, had been kaput for nearly a decade, but I knew that they had a revival coming up at Prepare the Ground in May in 2025. So I messaged those guys, because Alaskan, Ottawa base, but they used to play at Soy Bomb once or twice a year for the last little while. So they became like a weird sort of house band, even though they weren't from the city. They played so much, and they were one of they were one of my favorite bands too. Like, I loved Alaskan. So I was like, oh, well, I know they got a thing coming up. Maybe they'll do an unannounced show where they can participate at the last ever Soy Bomb gig. I messaged Gary, and he said they had not yet done a single practice to prepare for their upcoming thing. And Corey has not played bass or done anything since Alaskan stopped. So that's years at this point. And and at this point, you gotta remember, well, how far away, when we were having these discussions, Paul, how far away was the party? Like a week and a half? A week and a half?
Something like that, because that tour, I believe, was like November 10th or something that I was driving. So yeah, it was like something like that.
So it was like really, like, we were less than 2 weeks away, and we were so used to being able to pull off random shit all the time at Soy Bomb in the past. I think we took it for granted that we'd just be able to find friends of ours that were active and be able to do something. And we didn't, and it turned out to be way harder than thought. So Shit, which was one of my hopefuls, no. Alaskan, one of my hopefuls, no. Although Gary did offer, because Gary's had another band this whole time since Alaskan, and I'm drawing a blank for some reason. Of course, I draw a blank all the time now. What's Gary's other band?
They Grieve.
They Grieve, thank you. They Grieve played, which was, in a lot of ways, probably, like, I think there's a lot to be said about They Grieve playing, like, connecting the heart of Soy Bomb to, like, the future in a lot of ways, because
that makes a lot of sense,
because Alaskan existed when Soy Bomb existed, and then right around the same time we kind of both stopped existing, as that kind of a space. So They Agree was a continuation that moved beyond Alaskan, and so it kind of made sense to like nod towards that in the death of Soy Bomb in a weird way.
Were they the first band that you were able to confirm?
No, I don't know. No,
it was really difficult to put together a bill, because there were so many.
A lot of people message us too. Like, a lot of people knew it was coming.
So many things that just like wasn't going to fit, or like the things that we wanted that like wasn't available, or it was a project that was.
Oh, there was no shortage of bands wanting to play.
Yeah, but not a lot of them made a lot of sense, right? Like
there was an importance of like, this has to capture the spirit of Soy Bomb.
Yeah, like when Soy Bomb was up and running, the main point, like, of all the things Soy Bomb did, like you guys have understood at this point that I'm a weirdo of many hats, right? And multi-obsessed and always trying to bring everything together. But at the heart of what was most important at Soy Bomb gigs was that connection to like DIY post-hardcore stuff, right? Like, that was always the core of the, like, because to me, that's the least accessible music that there is, that has access to space and people have access to it, and it's probably a corner of like music that I love the most. Like my heart like matured musically when I discovered Five Arlington, Shopmaker, Uranus, and Akara, in the mid 90s. And and then stuff out from that too, right? So like that was to me the musical heart of what I thought was important that we hosted at Soy Bomb was the DIY post-hardcore stuff. And that had to be represented as best as possible. So anyways, we couldn't get shit. We couldn't get Alaskan. Gary offered They Grieve, which is like, I think that's probably what's going to happen because there's a lot of reasons to do that. But let's wait, not confirm anything yet till we've talked to everybody. And Paul and I agreed that Animal Faces should play. And that was another thing. That was another one on our short list because we knew oh my God, yes. That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Akara is fucking amazing. Anyone who doesn't know Akara needs to look up Akara. Like they weave together like the atonal noise rock weirdness of say the Jesus Lizard with like the angry dynamic melodramatic post-hardcore sound to say like not the sound but the approach to writing like say bands like Hoover or Fugazi even. But anyways, neither here nor there. Okay, so Animal Face was of course. So we'd been asked, I think before the summer of that year, if Animal Faces could do a special show at Soy Bomb. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking about the affidavit or nothing, because at that point, the condo developers owned the building. We knew the axe was going to fall. So it was a possibility. But I also asked the roommates, because again, I'm not going to like throw an event at Soy Bomb, especially when I'm hardly around the space anymore. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to disrupt your lives and throw a big gig with like hundreds of people at the space. And I didn't get any positive response from people at the roomies, so I just like and it was Egan from Respire who asked me, and I was like, I don't think it can happen, man. And so but because of that ask, I was like, oh, Animal Faces has been active recently, so that seems realistic too. So all three bands that were some of our favorites, really good friends, very important to Soy Bomb, Animal Faces, all those guys played in other bands that played at Soy Bomb for years before they formed Animal Faces, and Animal Faces might have played at Soy Bomb more than any other band that has played at Soy Bomb. They like sometimes they're an unofficial house band because they're always cool, like down to play. They're always so amazing. Everyone loved them, and they could fit on just about any bill because they had angular, weird, like noise rock elements. They had post-hardcore elements, like post-punk elements. They fit in a lot of different ways, and they had like some melodic elements too, which is super fucking rare post-hardcore. So they fit in a lot of different bills. So they ended up playing a lot of gigs at Soy Bomb back in the day, and there was a closeness, there was an affinity, friendship between like at least me and the guys, and so it made sense to have them included too. So this was Paul and mine's short list, and 24 hours later that caved in. Shit wasn't going to exist as physically as a band at that point, like within the 24 hours. Alaskan was not going to be able to pull together a set in a week's time, and
but They Grieve were.
They Grieve were, yes. And it worked out really good too. Like the lineup that we got, They Grieve was fucking perfect. But and Animal Faces, we asked, but no one talked to Ryan. I think it was Zach that someone had spoken to, and Zach
was talking with Aaron. I think Aaron was.
Oh, you're talking to Aaron.
Contact
someone talked to Zach too. Maybe it was Aaron talked to Zach. But I remember Zach telling me like they didn't even ask. They didn't even ask Ryan. They were like, he's in, it's a week away, he's in North Bay, that's not gonna fucking happen. You know what I mean? So they were like, no way. So Zach and Aaron are like, there's no fucking way. And so here we are 24 hours later. Our three main bands that we thought we would get easily were an absolute no-go, and I was done. I was just like, no one else exists anymore, Paul, and none of these guys are going to be able to do it. I got nothing. Like, and again,
there's also this we were hoping for the trio of Big Brave.
Yes, but even then,
And
at that point,
I think that was like the glimmer of hope, and then it was like, no, it's not going to happen.
oh yeah, sorry. There's an evolution in that conversation too, where you said, "I bet we could get Big Brave to play it." I was like, "Oh, that'd be pretty fucking sweet," because they're not some little guys anymore, right? And Paul asked them, and they said yes. I don't know if we had that in 24 hours. Did you ask them within 24 hours, that first conversation?
The whole thing was a blur, but I think it was like this glimmer of hope.
Yes. I know that we got a response from Big Brave saying yes, but then a response saying no, because it turned out their drummer wasn't going to be available. But then I think they came back shortly after and said, but we could do something different. And it was amazing. But
and they did the drone set.
Yeah, it was amazing. And their new record that just released this week, I think evolved out of that. They've added a new member that's not a drummer, but it's kind of a drone-ish. And the full album isn't released yet. There's only I think a track available at the moment, but it's of that same vibe. And I wonder if that now they'd already had been messing around in practice space and shaping some of their existing songs as like two-piece drone songs anyways, so it kind of worked out. So I don't know how much of the seed of them releasing future music in that vein was there, but then they polished a set in a week of restructuring most of their existing stuff. No, I should say a good chunk of that set was existing stuff that was reshaped for a two-piece drone set. And that us kind of leaning heavy on them to do that may have forced them to lean heavy into that, and that could have been what evolved into them releasing a record of material in that vein. So like, I don't think there's a drummer on the new album, but again, the full album's not out yet, so.
But there's nothing like having a confirmation of a band to then bring back optimism for the show.
Yes, but that wasn't like, Paul and I had this super excited conversation a week and a half before the last fucking day at Soy Bomb, and then 24 hours later, it all was in the shitter. There was a glimmer of hope from They Grieve, and like, I'm not sure if we knew yet that Big Brave would be able to do. I'm not sure if they offered to do the other thing right away. That might have still been a little later. But I like we could get all manner of random musicians in the city to do stuff, but they wouldn't necessarily have represented what was important to me at Soy Bomb.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And Paul at Soy Bomb.
But it does feel like there was a groundswell to try and help you.
Yes. Well, again, like, it's Soy Bomb's last show ever. So anyone who's got a band is probably thinking, oh man, I can finally maybe play at Soy Bomb. It's the last chance to do so.
You can see the allure.
So a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork, and I'd say like 80% of them were not, like, probably all great artists, but we're not fitting the bill of what we're trying to do. We're trying to put together a bill representing what was great to us back in the day, and follow that, that vibe. And it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. And then I'd give it up.
Even up to the last show, you're still thinking about, like, is this the right show for the place? Like, are these the right bands?
Yeah. Because there's no point. There's people I love in the city.
Even in a moment of desperation, I'm saying, even in a moment of desperation when bands are knocking on your door saying, can I play here? You're still like, this isn't the right thing that we're trying to go for.
Yeah, the effort on curation. I mean, we're understanding. And to me, it's a quality. It's almost like quality management.
Neurodivergent.
Like, you guys really wanted to do the right thing. You wanted it to be special. You wanted it to represent Soy Bomb. And even though there was gratitude that so many people were coming to your aid, you wanted to make sure that the mix was right. That's what I'm understanding.
But I think I think we have to consider Paul and mine's life at the time, where him and I are both like, I mean, we were organizing this while he was on the road driving a fucking truck on the East Coast.
That's crazy.
I hadn't been diagnosed yet by the doctor, but I was having trouble moving around from my hip. I didn't know I was arthritic yet, but like, all this stuff was going on in our lives. And when all of a sudden it seemed like we weren't going to be able to put something together that meant something to us, it doesn't make any sense doing it. It's like, I'm not going to do a last show at Soy Bomb if it's something that I don't even care about.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
Why am I going to waste my time?
There's doubt about this show, actually.
Oh, 24 hours later, I told Paul, like, wait, I could probably find the thing. I said, actually, that might have been on Discord at that point before we moved to Thingy. But, yeah, it would have been a Discord before because that messaging's not there.
So Big Brave the first band that confirms?
And they agree. They were both like, I think, there within 48 hours.
I think Piper was the only one that was like an easier one. There was no availability issues or anything.
Because they all live in the city.
Because they all live in the city.
Yeah, they were the only ones who lived in Toronto.
And that's how it used to be. So one thing that's just occurring to me now is, 8 years is a long time anywhere, but especially in music and especially DIY
after
music,
COVID.
Things change very, very quickly.
Well, people also moved out of the city after COVID, right?
Yeah, exactly. So all these changes are happening. You're looking around after 8 years and you're noticing the bands that you were used to booking aren't there anymore. The people who you were used to seeing maybe don't live in the city anymore. And then the one thing that I'm drawing a connection, let me know if it's false or not, is after 8 years people move in and out of Soy Bomb, where previously if you went to the roommates and you're like, I want to book a show, I think most people would have been into it. But after 8 years of people moving in and out, do you think that the dynamic in the house changed a little bit, where people who maybe weren't used to being around shows as much maybe weren't so keen on the idea of having a show in their living space?
No. I think if anything, it was Paul and me, and then later just me.
People were music people, right?
Yeah, everyone lived at Soy Bomb, especially in the last 4 years. Were all musicians and bands or some kind of acts. They would have loved to have had events at Soy Bomb, but they were forbidden. They because of the whole heat score and the thingy. It's like when we're in the last couple months, throw caution to the wind. Who gives a fuck? We're not the ones that are going to get sued. For the last few years at the end, Costa, our loving landlord, was gone, but there was more legal ramifications of dealing with the condo guys. Now, they didn't have the affidavit. We could probably get away with a bit of murder, but we would also be rocking a boat where we would probably get evicted. And even without gigs, Soy Bomb was way too sweet a place to give up for a one-off event. Like, it's just not worth it, right?
I see.
So
Unless it's the last day.
Yeah, exactly. So there was never an idea that doing an event at Soy Bomb, even after the condo developers were there, made sense.
That just made sense. Sorry, I just put some dots together, because you would have, if you did a show, the fire department could have fined the condo developers.
Yes, but then we would have been evicted, and that would have been worse. Well, if they showed up at the last gig, probably. But if this was earlier in the 4 years prior to that, we could have been attacked from two different angles, because they could argue we had no idea. We didn't sign an affidavit. These guys did this all on their own, and then we're the ones looking at like some legal ramifications. Plus, we would have got evicted. So it just was not worth it. Yeah.
Misunderstood it.
No, yeah.
I see.
Believe me, if I could see a way to get away with like sticking the knife in somewhere, I would have.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, you did eventually. And that last show, I just want to say for the record, was fucking amazing. So much fun.
Yeah, it was bliss. It was absolute bliss. But I would say though, again, I want to just go back to what we're talking about. It was at this point, we're about a week away, and we had no lineup and a couple of strong probablys, but not the exact thing we were looking. While they're perfect, amazing, good friends to tack onto any bill, they're not going to be a draw, right? They Grieve are fucking awesome, and they're an evolution beyond Alaskan, and in their own right, kind of a better band in a lot of ways. And Big Brave in any capacity is phenomenal, but if you reduce it to a two-piece drone set, that's no longer like a big hall show, and that's like an art gallery show. If that makes sense, right? Which is essentially.
Yeah. But also, one band's from Ottawa, one band's from Montreal. Yes. So you're not really getting the Toronto factor in there.
While they're both things are like, I'd love to include those guys on any bill. It's not enough to build a gig around, right? It's not enough. And so a day later, I was done. I was like, Paul, I got nothing. No one's around. Everyone's moved out of the city. No, or not doing music. There is nothing that makes sense to build the bill around. And then Paul, who was more hesitant than I 24 hours before, was like, nope, we're going to do something. We'll figure it out. Give me a day to do some messages. So I think he got more involved with messaging with Big Brave after that 24 hours. And he decided to contact, because we talked about it. We talked about what made sense to do. Like, what are we willing to put into this event? He's like, what if we offer Ryan airfare and whatever he needs to play, if that's enough to sweeten the pot to get Animal Faces to play? Because if it is, we'll do that. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. We'll totally do that.
I found my messages, and I will recount from my memory. So I messaged Aaron November 11th, and I said, November 29th, can you make Animal Faces happen? And he says, Ryan's up in Thunder Bay, not possible. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. That was it.
And I said, thank you. And that was kind of the end of that. And then until a couple days later, and I should mention this anecdote is, so driving this truck by myself to the East Coast, I have a lot of time on my hands. And what happened was I was listening to Animal Faces and I was just crying by myself, to be completely honest.
Oh.
And I was like, I just need to make this happen. Like, it's Animal Faces very specifically, but it was like, I'm picturing Animal Faces and Soy Bomb and just like how this whole thing that's like everything that's happened in the last few years since 2016 and Soy Bomb like as a whole, I'm just like, this just needs to happen. So I reach out again, and I think Jay and I talked first. I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't care what the money is, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
if we can
make it happen.
Yeah. I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at the Discord conversation. Let's see. November 4th, scoop on Soy Bomb. I will put money towards audio. This is earlier. We were gone at the end of November 31st, and then I said, something today. We're good to go for Friday, the 29th, 30th. We'll send out messages before bed to bands. Soy Bomber will have a blah blah blah. Please keep me in the loop with everything. I must pay my respects, and then I sent crying emoji. And anyways, November 5th, Paul sends me a copy paste of all the bands that ever played at Soy Bomb. I guess trying to enthuse me to pick bands to play.
It was a brainstorming session. But it's the same list. Of
massive block of text
recordings that I have archived.
Right.
Oh, those are just the sessions. Oh fuck, that's not even the list of all the bands that played.
That would have been 2013 to 2016 of what I had. To try to be like, okay, which of these bands would make sense?
There's got to be one of them.
I'm trying to find out. That was. I feel like there's some messaging that's missing here. Maybe at some point we were on text
I think we
or
moved
something.
Around. There's some WhatsApp and there's some,
you had your foreign, your American phone number too that we were texting on. So yeah, there's another medium as well, but. Okay, let's not forensically try to piece the conversation together. I do know that.
Yeah, how did Animal Faces say yes?
Paul messaged Ryan.
I have to jump very soon.
Okay, Paul, tell the story.
What happened is Aaron said, if we covered Ryan's expenses, can we make this happen? He says you'd have to email him. And so I did. And then, long story short, we made it work. That's
how Animal Faces got confirmed.
Yes, there should be a little addendum to that. Is Animal Faces was attempting to do a revival gig before that summer, and they did get together and try to do a rehearsal. And Ryan hadn't performed in like years, I guess, at that point, and his lung collapsed during the practices, and he went to the hospital.
I see.
And there is this crazy look into his health and his recovery, and there was also some apprehension due to that. But he was like in a way ahead of health recovery at that point. And so when they played, it went flawlessly. Actually, I'll be honest with you, it may have been the best I've ever heard Ryan sing and perform. I'll be honest, when it came to Animal Face's set, they didn't miss a fucking beat. Like, it is like a day hadn't gone by since the last time they played at Soy Bomb, but they were somehow even better than the last time they played at Soy Bomb. Like, they didn't miss a fucking beat. And I can say this because I was standing there trying to hold the drum set together the entire time during their set. So I experienced it quite directly.
Of this.
Yeah.
I have the photos of this. Yeah. I took these photos, so they're definitely going to be in the book. Awesome. That's great.
How does Piper Maru come to join this?
So Piper Maru, half that band lived at Soy Bomb. That's and they
Who is it?
Andy and I mean I keep wanting to say Adam. I know Adam's like in transition. I think it doesn't go by Adam anymore. Am I correct, Paul? I just can't remember.
I believe it may be Amy, but I'm not completely certain.
Might be right.
It's been a minute.
Someone told me last year, but I'm so bad at committing any nouns to memory.
I'm gonna jump, but
right.
Just as like a small thing, not a small thing. This is like a rather large discussion, I think. If this is something you want to discuss or not, whatever. But in parallel with all of this, there was a lot of tension with the roster of roommates that were there at the time,
because they were trying to fill the whole week up with events, and we thought they were gonna bring too much heat on it, and we were looking at spending time and money putting together a big gig, and we're worried that it was just gonna get fucked up. We're gonna end up doing no gig.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, this would be the long story short.
Right?
Some of them, I think.
Some got pared down.
Yeah, we were like we were very adamant that like we need November 30th, November 30th to happen. So we can't fuck it up.
Yeah,
jeopardize that.
We need to.
So we told them, like, you guys get Friday night to curate whatever the fuck you want. And with these, and again, the people who live at Soy Bomb this time are connected people in the Toronto music scene. They're not nobodies, right? So they're going to put together a big gig. In fact, they know so many active musicians. It was no sweat for them to organize a week of events, but we just couldn't have that. That was that. Like the Friday night party was amazing. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, that was it. Oh, one last anecdote before I leave. Is the show ended? Because normally a Soy Bomb show would end, and then we would all be hanging out till like 5 a.m. and whatever. And this did happen, but it was in a much smaller capacity because everyone's
old now.
2024 is old as fuck, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna go back to my kids or some shit."
That's beautiful, though.
I want to elaborate more details about this last show, even after you go, Paul. I have so many things to elaborate on.
I have so many things to say, but I unfortunately just can't right now.
Well,
but
write them, dictate them, voice to speech in your Google Doc while you're driving on tour.
And my availability is extremely fucked, but I do have some gaps, and they do not land on our original Tuesdays and whatnot. So I'm not sure if you want
all my nights are open up to these two.
Anyway, okay.
Message your availability. All right.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye, Paul.
See you later, man. What a great guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, So
they wanted to go ahead, Jay.
I just wanted to say, like, about that last gig. So we didn't get to finish out the fact that, like, we hadn't anything confirmed yet, and then. So first night, excited to talk about it. Second night, bottom fell out. I was like, I'm done, Paul. I don't see us doing anything we're doing. It's fine. It's all shit anyways. We'll just let it all fucking rot, right? That was my attitude 24 hours later. And then Paul was the one who fucking refused to let it die. And he said, give me 24 hours. I'm gonna let me talk to Ryan directly. Let's see what we can pull together. He said all we need is like one important band of Soy Bomb to focus around and build it around that essentially. And so he took it on himself to contact Ryan and Animal Faces and confirmed that. And 24 hours later, so we were like this, yes. Day later, fuck it. And then a day later, yes, because he got a confirmation from Ryan, and we were back.
Yeah, one big confirmation all of a sudden has wind in your sails, right?
He was like, yeah, and it's such a fucking ridiculous emotional roller coaster. Like, I went from being like sad but excited to just extra sad and defeated to totally elated, like all in 48 hours. It was too much. But
yeah, you guys were used to stuff like that, you know, only 8 years before, right? Just like the ups and downs of playing that, because I'm sure stuff fell through all the time.
Absolutely.
And you found
the thing changes all the time, right? But
it's just like the 8 years where you kind of weren't used to it anymore.
But if something falls through back in the day when we're doing it regular, it's like shit happens. Well, you know, but there'll be something else around the corner. At some point, there was nothing else around the corner. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, like, if I hadn't had a personal tragedy, like just completely fucking crush me and kick the shit out of me, I probably would have stayed involved in Toronto DIY in other capacities. I probably would have looked more into staying connected to everyone and doing and just curating shows less frequently, looking for special spaces. Because like what I did at Soy Bomb is something that could happen anywhere as long as like it makes sense, right? So I think once, like by the time the nail was in the coffin of Soy Bomb, a year after us like stopping shows, I'd moved on to the 2 other tragedies in my life, and that was it. There had nothing left in the tank, right? But if those things hadn't happened, I think I still would have been involved in some capacity, just doing things a different way. I just couldn't be at Soy Bomb, right? But after everything goes to shit, all we wanted to do is just pay homage to something that was precious and special, you know, to us, and we felt other people, and it made sense. And a lot of it too is, this is what happened in the organizing as well, is it wasn't just like special for us that did it in the past. Soy Bomb also has a bit of mythology for it, and so we wanted to. There are other people, younger DIY post-hardcore kids that are out there, screamo kids that have heard about Soy Bomb and they never got to participate. It would be nice to kind of have some involvement with some new people that have heard about Soy Bomb, never got to participate, and it's sort of a passing of a torch, if you will, because we knew it was our last hurrah, but maybe some other people could experience it and then run with that, right? Which turns out that's not really what happened, but...
Do you feel... Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Did you feel that this accomplished some of that?
So what happened was... So while we're organizing this, I said to Paul...
Because I've heard from Colleen, who was there, talk about how amazing it is, and this is the deciding factor on this book.
Well, so... what happened was Paul and I are organizing this, and after 48 hours, I said to Paul, I'm gonna ask Egan. I'm gonna try and bring him into this, because New Friends is the heart of what's going on now in Toronto DIY, and
the scram scene.
Yeah. And it doesn't make sense, even if it's just to like help promote, but more importantly, like, take the temperature as Egan sees it, see if there's maybe another local band that he thinks should be on it to represent like Toronto DIY now. And maybe if there's and also like New Friends has a promotional apparatus in existence. So I also asked like Egan if he can help promote the show as well. And so the hope was to like, I figured half the audience would be young people from the Toronto scram scene that would be getting like the only shot at seeing what Soy Bomb was, right? And that's what I was hoping, expecting. And
did that not happen?
Not really. So anyways, the event goes live for ticket sales that Friday, 1 week before the actual event. The following Saturday will be our gig. The tickets go live at Friday. We had Egan said we'll do a block of 200 and see what the interest is after that, and it sold out. It was sold out within a couple hours. And
it's not surprising. No.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's exciting. I mean, Soy Bomb has a mythology about it. I'm not shocked by this, but it is emboldening regardless, right? And but we planned with Egan, and so part of dealing with Egan and new friends was like not just the promotional apparatus. Again, having access to the younger Scrams kids now, giving opportunity, and seeing if there's something we're missing in doing this too, right? Because again, our fingers are not on the pulse anymore, not on that day-to-day basis, and so. Nothing really came. Like Egan had no suggestions for any other bands. There was no like, no. Paul, all the bands that played were Paul and I. But by the time we got the Animal Faces confirmation, we're like, hey, we have Big Brave then. Whatever they're going to do is going to be phenomenal. Like we have our centerpiece, and then we have these good friends of Soy Bomb that have been friends to the space and us for over a decade. Like it makes sense they're there in any capacity, even if they're going to stand there on stage silently for half an hour. Everyone just like looks them up and down. That would have been fine, you know. Like those people are important to Soy Bomb. And I said that as much like that evening, but I was mostly drowned out, so it didn't really matter. Everyone's drunk. I was drunk. And Piper Maru, which we didn't really get to elaborate on much, not only they former roommates, but they never got to perform at Soy Bomb. Like Soy Bomb died, and then they existed as that band. And by the time they were a full-fledged band with like playing gigs and having a set and all this stuff, Soy Bomb could not.
That was one of your hopes, though, was that there would be a band that didn't get a chance to play that was connected to the space. It actually fulfills one of those things.
It kind of does, but they're also long-term friends to the space too. Like
sure,
Amy and Andy been coming to gigs and friends to us in the space for a few years before they moved into Soy Bomb too, right? So like, while they weren't friends that were necessarily in bands, that's not even true, because fucking Amy was drumming in like bands that played at Soy Bomb too before that, like in the old Soy Bomb. That's not even true.
It sounds like that's how shows used to get booked in some ways.
What's that? Friends?
Through connections to the people who lived there. They were friends of the space.
Because we had promoters bring all these shows that were kind of infamous in the DIY communities. And everyone knew that if a show at Soy Bomb was a special occasion. It's only once in a blue moon, right? And so everyone wanted to play Soy Bomb because of this like special status it had. So when I wanted to do a show, which is 3 times a year, birthday, Halloween, New Year's, there was no shortage of friends and bands that I had to pick from at that point, right? And I still had to fight people off. Like for every 8 bands I would have play on one night, there's 20 to 30 more that still wanted to play. Like, you could never ever fully include all your friends.
There's 2 things I want to say. Which is you're talking about wanting to pass the torch and include some of the younger scene in that last show, but I think all that stuff is happening. Rest assured that stuff is happening. I see it in the city. So I think all that work had been done years before that. Maybe not so directly, but that stuff was happening because Soy Bomb existed. So I mean, you want younger people in the scene to go to this last show and be inspired. They had been doing that for years prior, so you can rest assured that was already happening. The second thing is that you and Paul planned the show to include bands that would encapsulate what the vibe and the essence of Soy Bomb had been for so many years prior. So in the same way that you were booking shows, you're booking the bands really, really carefully to kind of capture that spirit. I would say that the people in attendance equally captured that spirit because they were the people that had been going for 20 something, close to 20 years. So both of those things I think were perfect in the sense of like capping off and getting closure on the space in a way that you can control, because there wasn't any closure previously. So I would say that there's no failure on your part.
That is it. So I wasn't expecting it to be like that. So it turned out it's crazy that all this came together with a week to spare. Like literally 1 week to organize and throw this wild event. Because again, block of 200 tickets sold out Friday night. We knew that Egan was going to put up another block of 150 the following day at noon, like Saturday noon, and they sold out in 3 hours as well. And then there was a final
Were there
block.
350 people in there?
There was probably more, but again, we could touch back on that because the way Soy Bomb works, right? Like, not everyone's in the room at the same time ever.
Yeah.
But and then we did a last block of 100 tickets, I think Friday at 6 the day before, and they sold out in like an hour or something. I think there was like 3 blocks of tickets that went up, and they all sold out so quick, and I was just flabbergasted at that point. I'm like, and I thought it was mostly gonna be, I honestly, because of like the rabid fandom around the community that like New Friends Fest cultivated, I thought that's who would be showing up, all the younger Scrams kids. And Saturday comes around and it fucking wasn't. I don't know. The only young people, Scrams kids that were there were the people who were like volunteering with New Friends. Like everyone.
Average age was like 35.
Yeah. Everyone I saw there were all the people that were regulars at Soy Bomb a decade before. I recognize pretty much everyone. There's some people who are like, yo, Jay, it's me. I'm like, no fucking way. And it was just like,
Blair flew to Toronto from London.
To
attend that show.
Yeah.
It's not disappointing. The people who needed to celebrate Soy Bomb's end were there.
And that's just it. We had to stop very unceremoniously. We had no idea we had to stop. And it just happened, and that was it. And it's like, fuck. And then I didn't realize that everyone saw this, like, I guess needed that sort of that ability to say goodbye. We didn't get to have a last show. And so everyone that came were the people that were enthusiastic about Soy Bomb a decade before. And everyone wanted to come say goodbye. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Like Paul did great. Normally Paul and I did sound together, but because like this is, remember, technically legally we're out by midnight, but we had arrangements with the condo developers to give us a few days leeway because they knew we were doing a big bash, and they also didn't need the place. No one else was moving in, so like, you know, you're gonna have a few extra days to do it, and that's just a whole other story. But so we're just getting into it, and like, well, what else? And true to Soy Bomb form, like a million fucking events in the past, I'm exaggerating, we didn't do a million. I thought of all these things we could do last second in the few hours leading up to the events that would make it better given the circumstances. So one was the roof. The roof was decrepit, had holes in the deck. It was going to be dangerous. I don't think there was any way we could have made the Soy Bomb roof and the deck safe for those parties. We just didn't have the time or the money. So I'm like, you know what? We got this abandoned lot next door. How about we close off the roof for the parties? I'm going to open the hoarding wall that the condo developers put up, and I'll make a wall that leads over. Because we also because we didn't want any heat, we're going to use the back door. We're not going to use front door like we traditionally did at Soy Bomb and have lines going down the street. Because Soy Bomb hasn't been doing.
So that was a decision you guys made. I thought the door was just padlocked.
No, it was like, this isn't like the good old days where everyone knows what we do. Every once in a while we have a big crazy party. Yeah. Our neighborhood's all fucking condos now. No one would understand what's going on. Surely someone's going to call the cops or something. We don't want that to impede our fucking last hurrah. So we're going to close the front door. We'll put a sign saying, go around back to the alley. And we use the fire escape in the back to come up as the entrance into the space. And I opened up the hoarding wall to the empty lot next door and turned that into the ad hoc roof smoking area. Right. So, and to be honest with you, that is a logistical improvement because the fire escape was probably much more easier to get up and down than the roof access ever was at Soy Bomb. Going through
that's saying something, because that fire escape was rickety.
yeah. Because the stairs ladders to the roof wasn't rickety, but you went through a hole that was like this, like the porthole to dementia, I called it. That was this big. You had to emerge through to get onto the roof patio. Anywho, so I spent like the 2 hours before the Friday night's gig making a patio for the parties in the abandoned lot next door, repurposing like some of the materials that were still at Soy Bomb and the hoarding wall, and it made it so it took the hoarding wall and just sort of rebuilt it outwards and then covered it so there was like a doorway to come in to the fire escape, or you could branch off and go to this hangout smoking area. And true to Soy Bomb form, both nights at any given time, there's 50 to 200 people outside smoking and hanging out outside, right? Just like the roof used to be back in the day. So the roof for these last two parties was on the ground. But so that was something. That was a project. The last night, I was like, everyone's coming in through the back door. Actually, no, I feel like Friday they still came through the front door, but we made them smoke out back. They came through the front door, but we made them smoke out back so that there wouldn't be a heat score of like a bunch of people on the roof that would scare the condo dwellers and a bunch of people milling about in the sidewalk up front that would cause heat. So they did use the front door for the door on Friday night, but everyone was told they had to go smoke out the fire escape, right? Saturday, I was like, let's close off the front door altogether. We'll tear out. Remember that wall I told you I had the fire escape? The fire people made me build to make that close off from the bedroom area to the fire escape. We tore that out and opened that up. So that was where we're going to put a desk for the door to be done. And then everyone comes from the fire escape past that to come in. We tore down the walls to the cave so that was opened up. So now Soy Bomb was technically bigger than it had been in parties in the past, because now more of the space was accessible, including not just this big lot, which is bigger than the roof, not just Paul's Cave now opened up to everybody, and my original bedroom now opened up for people to mill about in. So the amount of space Soy Bomb was used for that last gig was like 40% more than normal, I would say. So that allowed us to kind of stretch out, breathe a bit more in there. So I just wanted to put that out there. As per usual, like a traditional Soy Bomb gig, I was doing some random shit until the last fucking second. Like bands had started and I was still doing something because I just
good to know that there's some familiarity.
Yeah, it felt like
I was watching you trying to set up a live stream, trying to install a camera and like.
Which I didn't get to finish till halfway through Piper Maru's set, which I felt bad about because I wanted to watch their full set, right? But it was good. It was a good gig. It was a good party. Everyone played amazing. The sound went great. Everyone seeing all those old faces, people I'd forgotten about for a decade at that point. It's like, oh my God, you still exist and you're here. Holy fucking shit. I all of a sudden remembering now that you used to be here almost every show. I had forgotten. It was amazing. It was absolutely crazy.
Okay, I want to turn this discussion to legacy a bit, because I think, in the discussion that we had prior about Big Brave and about the lineup, you mentioned, you gave an example of how Soy Bomb might have influenced Big Brave sound on a recent recording.
Maybe.
I have a feeling,
I haven't asked them.
because you were one of the main people at Soy Bomb. Lots of people probably came up to you and said, "Dude, you changed my life in this way or that way or whatever." I want you to tell us all the ways that Soy Bomb impacted people, if you can recall them, which you probably can't recall any of them. But what do you think? What do you think some of the ways were?
Okay, I'll say this. So I go to for the last 3 years, I've gone to New Friends Fest. I've missed the first couple because I was, again, not participating in society at that point yet. But when I was going to the other ones, I was,
you think this is a growth out of that?
Well, when I first went back to New Friends Fest, I felt like, oh God, I'm this like weird old dude showing up to like a kids festival. Like I feel like I'm going to be very out of place. Like I'm going to want to see my friends. I'm going to want to see these bands, but I'm going to feel very culturally out of place, right? And I went
generational.
Yeah, like multi-generationally. Like I'm a mid-Gen Xer. And most of the Respire would say the core of Respire is the core of the organizers and New Friends, or at least used to be. They're like late stage millennials, right? I don't think there's any Gen Xers in that particular group. And then now, like like New Friends has got a lot of Gen X like organizers and stuff, and so I go to this thing not knowing what to expect, and I was like greeted by many familiar faces and some of like ones I hadn't seen since Soy Bomb shows, and everyone like giving me props and like Egan and Rohan from Respire are constantly like grabbing me. This is Jay, Soy Bomb, like all this stuff, and I just like. And I'm taken aback because at first I feel like I'm a fish out of water, but then I'm being put on this pedestal and I don't know how to take it, right? Like it's kind of weird. Like,
oh yeah.
I never did what I did at Soy Bomb for accolades, so I've never been comfortable with them because it's never the point. And so when it does happen, I don't know how to respond. I need to figure out a way to convert that into a quip that can maybe lead into something else, right? But I'm not good with that. I don't have a way to react to that because as important as Soy Bomb was to me, it was never the core of my day-to-day life, even when it was happening. So as much as I like live for doing what we did at Soy Bomb for gigs, that isn't what I felt was keeping me like alive physically. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't my day-to-day existence. So it always felt.
You did mention wanting to pass the torch in one way or another. So
I think
what would you hope the legacy is?
Okay, the hope would be, so this is a bigger conversation, but I do feel that like I do think that the New Friends collective did kind of like they started right when we ended, and I think that they
took inspiration from Soy Bomb.
And not only that, but some of the other like regular organizers in like DIY stuff in the city had kind of like wasn't really doing it much anymore. Everyone was getting older. Everyone was getting career focused. It's not an endeavor that makes you money, and people are getting married and in relationships and figuring out how they're going to exist. Yes. So I think New Friends started up at a time when it wasn't just Soy Bomb, but everything just kind of petering out. And so and again, at the time, I didn't have my ear to the ground anymore. I was out, you know what I mean? Like I was off the team, you know what I mean? But I did know that New Friends was doing it. They had fucking, I think the second New Friends Fest, they did, what's that band? I have the vinyl back there somewhere. One of the kind of more melodramatic, like Scrams bands from like the early 2000s, I have a t-shirt too. What the fuck is their name? As I say, I have a problem with nouns. I just can't remember names of anything or people or fucking anything.
Well, I remember a Facebook post that you said, like, where you were just bigging up New Friends. You had just found out about them and you were like, this is like the next gen set Soy Bomb.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what you were kind of saying about them.
That's what it was. That's what it is. Because I felt that they did. But the thing is, the torch wasn't passed, in my opinion. Now, those guys were all involved with events that were happening forever.
But you lit another torch with your torch.
I think the torch was unceremoniously dropped, and I think they looked at it and they said, well, someone's got to do fucking something. And I think that's what it was. I think New Friends started.
Soy Bomb, but we're going to do something else.
I think it was just an unpretentious endeavor for a group of friends that just liked what had been going on in the city and wanted to keep doing shit. I mean, New Friends grown dramatically beyond like anything, right? Like if you haven't been to New Friends Fest, you need to go to New Friends Fest. I hope there's still tickets because it was just announced like last week, so they literally might be sold out. Yeah, the lineup is fucking insane, man. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This is where I think
super ambitious. I'm like, it's crazy.
Things are going though, because in as much as we can discuss whether or not you still think like proper underground illegal DIY is still possible in cities like ours. We can discuss that, but I think the real kind of legacy and implication of the work you've done and the work other underground spaces have done previously is that they've taken that kind of template or like ethos, that like kind of the DIY ethos, but applied it in a more kind of legit legal framework where they're kind of working within this framework and making things happen.
But New Friends aren't pups. Like they're pups to me, But those guys, like when Soy Bomb was unceremoniously finished, those guys were all in their late 20s, maybe even one or two, maybe in the early 30s. I don't know, probably still in their 20s. But they weren't kids, so then they've been, doing stuff in the community for a long time. And I think they were all just confident that there'd be people like me or Cuthbert or Benedetto or whoever, Woodford, they would always just be doing something because that's what we did. So I think when there's people doing stuff, you can feel confident that there's just going to be something for you to participate in, and you don't have to worry about it. When that
but
all of a sudden
showing you that something is possible.
Yes, that to me is a lesson of Soy Bomb. This is the lesson of Soy Bomb for people who got to experience it. Was you go into Soy Bomb, you don't know what the hell this space is. It's this juxtaposition. You can see that it is both unpretentious and very pretentious in within 10 feet of each other. You don't know what the fuck is going on, right? We have this very dirty, beat up ramp area. Then we have this like pretty rock solid kitchen. You can tell that this is a space that's got a lot of loving attention, but also, there's also less of a facade in like the parts that like have the most participation. It's like they're not trying to be fancy, but they're also not they're not teenagers who don't understand art and design, let's say, right? They're not just kids. Like these are people who care, and you can see where they care, and you can see where they realize they don't need to care. Like, I feel that's the lesson that comes out of Soy Bomb. People can like recognize that all the energy's going to the parts that matter, and are also letting things be what they're going to be where it doesn't matter. And that's basically where the magic happens. And so that lack of pretension and that just doing shit, like, I don't think, like, what do you guys think? If you were new to Soy Bomb, what do you think was behind it? Do you think it was a trust fund kid? Do you think it was like a weirdo, like DIY carpenter guy? Do you think it was like a group of like art weirdos? Like, what do you...
The interviews that we've heard from people, so we don't have to imagine because we've heard from people. The question, it's a question. That's actually the mystique about what this place is, and is the thing that's blowing people's minds, and they're just interested to figure out the riddle. And I think
me too.
Because that's one of the questions we ask everybody is, what was your first impression? And they're like, well, and they always talk about some of the similar things, but the enigma is the thing that they are like most intrigued by. What is this place? What is this place?
Exactly. Greg Benedetto said something very eloquent and poignant, I think, when we spoke with him, and he said that to him Soy Bomb represented possibility, and not just a single possibility, but the concept of possibility. When you walk in that space, your first thought is like, what is this place? How is it possible? And what other possibilities are there? If people can create this and live this way, it completely kind of breaks apart your framework of what a space can be in a city when you're so used to going into venues that, there's differences, but it kind of all looks the same. It's kind of all arranged in a similar way, but you walk into that place and you're like, oh, if this is possible, what else is possible?
Yeah.
So I think for me and the people we've spoken with, the real legacy of Soy Bomb is that this kind of thing is possible, and maybe it doesn't look the same way in the future. Maybe it looks a little bit different, but
it shouldn't. I don't know why it shouldn't look the same.
Things should always be possible when people are telling you that it's not possible. I
think Greg hit the nail on the head there. I think that's part of what my personality is. An example of that is how horrible it is for me to watch YouTube videos about craftsmanship and construction and carpentry, and then follow up the links onto Amazon and just fill my house full of fucking tools. Like, I'm a sucker for a new fucking tool. And to me, tools represent possibility. The larger your array of tools, the more things you can do yourself, right? And I think what Soy Bomb was to me. I remember I might have said in the past where Soy Bomb was designed to be a blank slate. It was meant to be modular. That the common space is designed to take. It becomes the cup that is filled with fluid for whatever it is we're doing.
Something that's versatile.
Yeah, and so
flexible.
And that's why like the storage of everything is designed to be like hidden and out of the way. Tons of shit in Soy Bomb, but you'd never see it, right? Because you don't want
but it was
clutter.
To make the space functional.
Yes, because like you
as
don't
functional as possible.
I think if you come to Soy Bomb, you don't see any posters. You don't see much in the way of art, and there's nothing inflicting like a cultural perspective directly. Like even though I'm one to sort of proselytize, you wouldn't see that walking into Soy Bomb, I don't think. You know? Like, I don't think you walk into Soy Bomb and then immediately understand the mind of the people there. You instead see
to allow for a blank slate.
Kind of. It's like it's a space.
Maybe that's what made it so special for a lot of people, is they were able to come in and kind of project themselves onto this blank space.
That's a good point.
And say,
the art of the uncarved block.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think there is something to that I never really thought about. But I do think that the idea is that whatever the event is, that's what the space is at that time, right? And everything else in the house needs to be out of view because we don't want that coloring what is happening at that time, right? Like this
you
is
want the artist to have their due.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's again like I'm always stoked on what's going on there, but I don't need my personality to be on show. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be like, hey, everyone, look at me. I instead want everything set up to be, hey, look at that, right?
Right.
All the years we did shows at Soy Bomb, I rarely said a peep. I didn't do, surprisingly, shockingly, like if you're unfortunate enough to bump into me on a smoke break when I smoked or catch me after the night is over, I'd talk your fucking ear off about anything. But during the events, it was on task and just making sure that and nothing bad is happening, so that everything's focused on that important part of music. And I said this in the past, I have always been obsessed with those who are the channelers, those ones who chant, like the mediums that channel like the deep dark heart of rock and roll, you know, those who aren't performing but are channeling, you know. They're
Jay, I want to go back to this legacy question though.
Oh, okay, sorry. But it's important. I just wanted to say that I didn't want to disrupt that channeling. That's what was important. Okay.
Legacy. No, I get it. I understand it, and I feel like that's a great awareness of the importance of the artists and it's a that focus. I love it. But the question I want to go back to is the legacy, because I feel like there's probably hundreds of people who've come up to you and said, Jay, I'm doing this because of Soy Bomb.
I don't know about hundreds. I think I've had
okay, well, you're underselling yourself.
I honestly don't.
And maybe people don't tell you. I don't know.
I don't think if there's a. I think
maybe
like,
you haven't heard it, but there are hundreds for sure.
But do you have awareness of some of the legacy pieces that Soy Bomb is
you guys told
for?
me about the Sororan space
Vintage.
there. Yeah, and
Vintage warehouse.
Yeah, and I went there and I was like, these guys are ripping me off, but that's fine because I'm not doing it. Because it just felt like this is my vibe, but made into a professional business, which is something I kind of wish I would have been able to do. But I'm okay with that because they seem to be doing cool shit. And if they're doing cool shit, I'm not going to complain. And then it turns out that they were directly inspired by Soy Bomb. I'm like, get the fuck out.
But there was 2 warehouse spaces on Sterling. Do you know about those?
Not ones I think I've been to.
Never mind.
Not ones I think I'd been
to.
I know there was a DIY, like a queer DIY space on Sterling. I don't think it existed because of Soy Bomb. It existed at the same time as Soy Bomb, and when
inspired by Soy Bomb.
Well, I mean, I know one of them, like Rose.
We've already interviewed them. Inspired.
Is it the one that Rose was involved with? There's an older.
I don't know There's a guy named Dimitri who started this space called the House of Everlasting Superjoy on
I love it.
Sterling. And it did kind of line up. It was a contemporary of Soy Bomb. It was, I think, around like probably open like 2011. So absolutely, definitely 100% inspired by Soy Bomb and taking cues and taking lessons from
Sucks that I never got to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, these are the things that like that place only lasted like 1 or 2 years. Other places only lasted 1 or 2 years, or maybe even less.
It's usually 1 or 2 years.
Talking about, exactly, when you and Paul are talking about like, let's enjoy this while we have it, because we know it's not going to last forever, and it lasts as long as it did. It's kind of miraculous, and you can't even really be sad about it because it lasted so much longer than anyone ever expected.
Nothing short of a miracle.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of the reason. I mean, the longevity, the abnormal longevity, is due to a couple factors, which is realizing that we'd hit our limit to growth, and there's no reason to try and make it bigger, so we just sustain, and we develop the set of rules that help us sustain it. And me being like Soy Bomb has always been a collective endeavor in some form. If at the very least the people who live there, the space wouldn't exist if there wasn't people living there paying the rent, right? So my goal is twofold. At some point the goal became make sure I could host some of my favorite things in my life, but also make sure that Soy Bomb was such a decent, enjoyable enough place to live that people want to live there and pay the rent, because without them there is no Soy Bomb. So that's the mission statement. Because I was obsessed enough to not grow out of Soy Bomb. I just wanted to keep doing that for fucking ever. I still would if I could, like just forever. That's all I wanted. I don't need to grow. I don't need to fork that off into something else. I just wanted to keep fucking doing that. I had a career. I didn't need to make money off it. Soy Bomb is a cool place to live. Everyone who lived there generally enjoyed it. So that was stable. I was stable. And there's having a fucking like awesome gig there like every other month is just icing on the cake, right? That was it. And I if it weren't for those damn Nazis, it would still be going now. But
yeah.
But anyways, so that idea that like so many DIY spaces are temporary is because they don't have, say, sustainability in their concept. They have
There's a scenario where it wasn't just the Nazis though. Like I feel like there's also development pressure in the city.
But that was later. The development where the condo developers took over, it would have happened eventually. That we always knew that was going to happen. Our landlord Costa owned like 60%, 70% of that corner. Probably 75% of that corner. We knew that eventually he would probably get all of it and do a condo development himself. The main problem is Corrado the barber doesn't like him and was never going to sell to him. Was never going to sell just because he was an obstinate old Sicilian. That's it. He didn't need the money, so he was going to fucking impede. Maybe also like wanted to not have that piece of his history change too, right? But he was never going to sell. Corrado, as much as we thought he was a weird like stuck in the past racist asshole at times, he had he was also the anchor holding that corner together. You know what I mean? And when he passed, when the buildings burned down, then he passed a year later. That was it. We were like, well, it's only a matter of time now. Like he's got kids, they'll probably sell. Costa will probably offer him the best deal, and that'll be that. But it turned out it didn't happen that way. In fact,
do you think DIY venue show spaces are still possible in this city?
Okay.
Having run one, you would have insight into this.
This is a big conversation because we have to talk about Toronto and its cultural geographic makeup. So Toronto has had this post-secondary institutional young adult life in its core for decades. You got U of T, you got OCAD, you got George Brown, you got Ryerson, and then like some private institutions in the periphery. And then not too far out, you have the Humbers and you have York. And then you have like Seneca and some other like colleges and stuff. And so And because
It's an education center.
it's an education
Like
center
Boston.
that brings young, ambitious people from around
To
the
the city.
country and even the world to the city. And
Oh,
for a
yeah,
long
yeah.
time, it's hard to remember this looking at Toronto now, but if you go back 20 years, the downtown wasn't a developed condo fucking like wonderland for like neo yuppies, like or pretentious,
Yeah.
like pretend neo yuppies.
Yeah.
That wasn't what it used to be. The downtown was abandoned by the middle class and especially the upper class, going back to the 60s and 70s. The town used to be, people used to
They
think
were
of
mostly
downtown,
working class.
yeah, yes, working class and even like art class, artistic class. The downtown business used to be cottage industries of young adults proliferating their culture in a form of a business. Like things like the Beguiling, Vortex, Rotate This, all these little venue spaces, these venue bars. It was all the product of people coming to the city to go to school, finding their people, and then go and making a life out of it. Like that's what downtown Toronto used to be. And that's gone. Like that's fucking gone. I would say if you were to do a census, I would say that if you were to go to like 2000, I would say that 80% or more of the downtown institution student bodies lived in downtown Toronto, either in residences, maybe wealthy enough to have their own apartments or something, or more likely the case, grouped up with other students in a house somewhere. Because downtown used to be all shitty old houses that were rented by different groups of students. And sometimes these are now adults that are out of college and they're still living that way, but that was it, right? That was Toronto back 20 years ago.
Sounds like you're leaning towards no.
Well, we'll get there. We have what it used to be that allowed certain things to happen, what it is now that won't
Doesn't
allow things to
exist.
happen, but then what I see is solutions and coming down the pipe. So I think
What makes you optimistic, Jay?
you're not going to like it, but we'll get to it. We'll get
I
to
like
it.
optimism. I need optimism in
It's
my life.
not-
I want to hear it.
It's only a little bit optimism. Okay. So
I'll take the littlest.
all right. So
Give it to me, man. Hit me with it.
all right. So here's the thing. Space isn't accessible downtown anymore. Like capitalism and real estate speculation has destroyed access. No one can afford rents. If you're not like a multinational brand or a trust fund kid, you cannot get retail in this city. That's impossible at this point. Now, I think there might be a shift that we can see now, but it's still in its infancy. So like the cost of having any kind of a space in this city has gone up between 2008 to 2018. Like in 10-year span, you saw the costs raise on especially retail spaces, ground floor in like out of the core, like Queen West and stuff, go up like 600%. What used to be $2,000 a month for like a 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet is now 8,000 to 12,000 a month. Like that's a fucking dramatic increase. Like no one can afford that. There isn't like no prolific student or collective of students can come out of like a bunch of adjacent programs with like cool ideas for marketing and business plans and product and like whatever, and they're going to have access to even as a collective to access space to like house their idea. That is not possible. So it's only pre-existing money that gets to own anymore or rent. That's it. There's no access to space in Toronto, the Toronto borders. GTA might be another story, but if you're in, well, that's not true because Toronto borders does include Scarborough, and I do think there's room for growth in Scarborough, and I think there's some weird pockets of old industrialization like South Etobicoke that has some potential as well. There's pockets, but they're not central. This is my issue because when I talk about the former downtown core population being the student body, the student body living in the downtown and that centralization of everything, even as the student body over the last like 20 years moved more and more downtown to further out, where now a lot of people stay in the 905 and they commute to go to classes. A lot of people do whatever they can to do their classes remotely. It's
living in the
rare.
margins.
Yeah.
Like out in the
Yeah,
outskirts.
in the Golden Horseshoe. Like people don't.
Even downtown,
Yep.
people are at Lansdowne now instead of
Yep.
Bathurst.
Yeah,
right?
I mean the I can remember 10 years ago the big move for the artsy student, the older students was up to the annex. And the annex was normally like the west, the northwest annex.
Still
Like
the Bathurst corridor, though, right?
Well, no. West of Bathurst, north of Bloor. Like we're talking like the railway corridor
the
and
annex.
shit. Like
Okay,
it's not.
You're talking about the junction.
Well, it's that no man's land where like where does the junction start? Where does the annex start? There's that area there, right? Like there's that like. I don't know. I'm sure there's a defining border because it goes probably by voting district.
Well,
but
no, the annex is Bathurst and Bloor to Spadina and Bloor.
But
That's the annex.
I've heard many people refer to the annex also a little west of Bathurst and north of Bloor in that immediate little neighborhood pocket of buildings, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes that's where it becomes that like gray area. Like where does one area start and where does the other one stop? But it's all fucking like it's all well-to-do people now. It's all well-to-do people. Some of them are like older people that came out of like artistic communities back in the day, and there's still some like good wealthier people in the area, but I think even they are hating the neighborhoods now because of what it's become, right? Like it's all moneyed people in the downtown, and none of them, they're not interested in like good concerts. They're not interested in concerts in general unless it's a stadium concert. They're into like jogging groups and cute cafes and like there's everything's changed. The culture's changed because it reflects who lives here now, and it isn't the student body. It isn't the young adults who still have a bone of curiosity towards like artistic endeavors, who feel a strong tie to culture because they still have that youth.
Some optimism, Jay.
Wait, what's that?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay.
Some optimism.
I said we're gonna take a spoon. We're gonna take a quarter teaspoon of sugar with a fucking 5 tablespoons of salt. Like I warned you, it's a bittersweet future. Okay. So
give me the dystopian future.
Well, the real estate speculation is a bubble. It's unsustainable. It's surprising it's lasted this long, but the bottom is going to fall out. It seems like it might be a bit more metered and the bottom may fall out slow. But what we are already seeing is foreign investment backing off in Toronto because the investment opportunity as in real estate speculation is there. The profit margin, listen, sales of condos have dropped to nothing. Like they're nothing.
Yeah, no one wants to live into them.
All the projects that like the condo that kicked us out of Soy Bomb, it probably won't get built, even though it's likely because of its positioning, maybe in the top 10% of possibly still feasible for profit given its location.
The vacancies for those places.
The only condos
high,
that have a shred of hope now is location. If you're something in a hipstery area, if you're near the what's that Nouveau Riche art corridor from Queen up to College, Ossington. If you're near a condo developed near Ossington, you still stand to sell units. Where Soy Bomb stood because it's all still there. Nothing's happened to it. We're just not there. That probably still is likely to sell units because of its location. It's in an established gentrified area. And all those who have pretense to living a gentrified life, that is the core of it, right? Now, neither here nor there. So when the real estate bubble does collapse, it's going to be bad. Like hundreds of thousands of people are going to lose their jobs and their livelihoods. That means that when that's gone, a lot of things are gone. Things are going to be very horrible in Toronto. Like people will lose mortgages. People will lose their homes. People will lose their livelihoods, not be able to maintain their families or their lifestyles. it's going to be bad. People are going to leave the city. People are going to look for like how much it costs to live in a tent in fucking Sudbury. Like shit's going to fucking change at that point. We'll also lose some of the most rabid participants in making art and culture in the city because they won't be able to exist here unless they're.
Doesn't that already happen?
Yes.
Haven't we lost everybody to Hamilton and other
Not
places?
everyone, but a lot. But you still, and this is the thing too. This ties into my concept where if the student body and the student culture doesn't exist in a physical location, there's no fucking need to put on cultural events in any physical location. When 80% of the student body used to live downtown, you would do an event and you would have so many people to participate because it's already in their neighborhood or not too far away. Without that concentration of that young adult, still wide-eyed student,
because they're curious.
Yes, curious and like having still an affinity to culture because it
Looking
hasn't been because
Yeah.
capitalism hasn't smashed out that idea that culture is important to them yet, right? It hasn't been repackaged and sold to them yet. You still think that you can be a bit rootsy and be a more authentic human when you're young enough to believe it. When you get older, you see everything as a facade, everything is fucking capitalist bullshit, and you're just trying to find your fucking lane so that you get to eat and sleep dry at night, right? Like that's what our culture's been reduced to, or overall culture, not punk or DIY culture. And so I think that I think with that lack of concentration of
When you get a real estate crash, that's when
that's
DIY
when things can open up.
would-
Yes, so but that wouldn't happen overnight. Like that would be like 5 to 10 years because it's
Be a
not
slow burn.
it's not just a DIY space. It's like, oh, I can. This person's like that. There's going to come a point where like landlords are going to potentially foreclose. They got to pay their mortgages, right? But you have so many things like Blackwater that have gobbled up real estate like crazy on speculation. They've made up like shell companies where they sell to their own company they own at an overinflated price to drive up the prices so that they can then sell off, and then they start selling off and they drive the prices up, they raise the prices, but that's unsustainable, right? That's a quick cash grab, and eventually that takes flight. It's not just the condo sales and the home sales that define the real estate market. It's because there's money to be made in a dying market as well, right? The way hedge funds work and like the stock market.
Predatory.
There's ways to like
economics.
Exactly.
I get it.
Predatory economics. There's the money to be made on a failing market as well, and until that dries up, space won't be available. The availability of space for smaller endeavors won't be until the corporate markets offload to a solitary sucker who's now stuck with a property that they probably can't make money off of, can't scale it up like they'd hoped, and then they have to just rent it out to fucking anyone to make like at least a chunk of their mortgage. That's when shit becomes accessible again. And that could be a decade away, right? It could be 5 years, could be 2 years in some cases. Like that's probably happening now, but on a larger scale, that's going to be years. But
I want to change. I want to change your analysis to something else because there's. I mean, I understand.
I
what
still
you're
have
saying.
more. I'm still like I am on a trajectory here, but I'll come back.
What do you think Soyabomb offered that legitimate venues couldn't? What was the success of Soyabomb? What made Soyabomb a place to want to play or be at? Like it feels like.
I think you guys probably know better than me.
If you look at it from the venue standpoint, still you don't get that experience that you see at a club that you would at a Soyabomb. What was it about Soyabomb that made it Soyabomb? What's the essence of Soyabomb?
I think small talk in chat just there said something like everyone was welcome. That's true. I think as I and Soyabomb grew politically, like in terms of like being more conscious of like the social politics of the world, I think we went out of our way to make sure that we used to like for instance, one of the infamous things about soy bombs is our signs, our signage. Those signs were our security, right? Like that was our security. I was the security, and maybe one
What
or
do you
two.
mean?
The
I don't get
idea was to speak to clearly have a sign that puts certain places or activities off limits, and to word it in a way that was threatening, like just straight up, like violently threatening. So
like
that
the garden,
yeah,
like the gardening.
yes,
one?
all the signs, like they're gnarly. They're all meant to like to scare people, because we didn't have security. I was the security. Now, in those cases, I might be scarier than those signs, depending, as you guys have heard. But that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be the host at Soy Bomb and be the scary guy. So the idea is
Don't you also think Don't you also think it was the language of the scene?
What's that?
I mean, some of the language that was up there, people just got it because that's what we speak. That's how we
Well,
speak to each other.
This is what I'm getting to. When Soy Bomb started doing
Fuck with
events,
the garden
was-
will fuck with you.
yes, but we also had signage that like
We all
used
got
the R
it.
word. We used the R word in some of the earlier signs. Some of
Got it,
the,
though.
like there's ways we spoke that was meant to be tough and angry, that was exclusive, right?
I
Like,
found it funny.
yes,
I found all those signs
yeah.
comedic.
That was the point too. For those who knew,
Yeah.
they knew it was jokes, right? For those who didn't know, they're like, okay, I better fucking. There's a
Yeah, I didn't
line
find it
here.
scary.
Yeah, there's a line
was fun.
here.
That's always the duality, though, because
Yeah.
there's always welcoming and like we're fucking around here, but also don't fuck around because you're gonna find
Yeah,
out. And
don't put my cigarette in the
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
garden bed. I got it.
So it sets a tone, but at the same time, you have these angry signs, but then everyone else is having this phenomenally good, connected community vibe. It's this juxtaposition that I think a lot of people get as well. You know, I don't think like if you're someone who's not part of the community and you're coming in with like ideas that don't mesh, you're going to feel out of place right away, and you probably won't stay, or you're probably not coming back. Like just the presentation of the space and the events, of the people and the signs and the vibe really weeded out some of the worst people. Like we had some incidents, but given the sheer amount of like very large events we had, we didn't have that many incidents, you know?
yeah, sure.
So I think so to me,
It wasn't just the signage.
No.
Like I feel like
no, but
you're using it as an example. But what?
it's an example, yeah.
What are you getting at? I guess.
That I guess people can see that it's the Wild West, but it's not that wild. So that no one feels like someone's going to pull out a gun or a knife at any point. It's like, okay, there's limits here, but yet people are acting like there's no limits. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, to me, yeah, because I study
Contain
sociology,
chaos.
and so in sociology, like we talked about social mores within scenes and within groups and communities and cultural groups, and yeah, there's a set of unspoken rules that get talked about or are understood, just understood. You don't even have to say them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people get that. Most people, because again,
It created culture. I refer to that as culture. I feel like it's a cultural.
Yes.
It's a culture. You're setting a cultural community of some sort.
To me, the idea of like of DIY and punk culture is a sister analogy of what I also consider anarchist culture, like political anarchism, where you can exist without a hierarchical top-down structure in a community, in a society, right? And
Like individual social responsibility. That's
Yes.
anarchism. Like, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
yes, but anarchism, individual responsibility is important in anarchism, but I think that's more
Within
of a
a
feature of
community.
libertarianism. Anarchism also involves collective responsibility, right?
It
That's
does,
a
yeah.
very common feature of anarchism, and I think that is something that you feel at Soy Bomb, where there's, you know what I mean, like that idea that like
I do know. Yeah. I get
yeah,
it.
like everyone here, it feels like anything is possible, but the worst things aren't possible. Does that make sense? Like people
Yeah.
people I think generally feel safe at Soy Bomb because there's a vibe and people are getting it. And a lot of it, and when I say that vibe, like it's not like this mysterious aura in the room. No one's ever one person removed from anyone else in that room, generally, right? And so people hear what their friends say. People hear anecdotes. Like the mythology of Soy Bomb grew as people had experience at Soy Bomb. So as people are having these good experiences at Soy Bomb, they proliferated the good experiences at Soy Bomb. You know, it's like,
well, and people were getting schooled in the culture without having to go there.
Yes. I think, and honestly, there are people, like I say, there's people who went to a Soy Bomb show whose favorite bands were like Radiohead and maybe Mumford & Sons or something. I'm just pulling names out of my hat.
Yeah,
and then they leave going like, these guys, they see a band. They see a band. It's like, oh, they see Alaskan, like, oh, this is sort of like Metallica, but slower, because they have no point of reference. And again, these aren't common occurrences, but you do have like mainstreamers who come to Soy Bomb. They feel the vibe, and that opens them up to like something that isn't so
packaged.
Not just packaged, like manicured, right? Like gussied up. It's a little more raw. Having said that, I took pride in having bands that just weren't just straight raw chaos. The bands I loved and played at Soy Bomb were bands that were absolute masters at containing their sound and making like their tonalities and their structures the best thing you could do with limited tools, right? Like absolute fucking masters. So I think even if you're a
person,
so if you're a layman and you come into Soy Bomb and you're having a good time because of the vibe and you're being open-minded, and I think you pick up on that. Even if you're not schooled on what's happening, how they're doing that, you see that this isn't just some kids in a garage. Like this is something more, you know. It's not stuff you're going to see on the radio, but there's a craft here. There is performance, like there is something here, and people become converts. Now again, that's not the majority. Most people who come to Soy Bomb are converts probably before they even came to Soy Bomb, but we definitely have had converts. All right, like one of the guys I know who went to almost every Soy Bomb show. I think people liked his like affable nature, but he wasn't really friends with anyone. He came there, who knows how in the first case, and just kept coming back to every show. He never really mellowed out his more like, he was there at the last show too. His more like pedestrian like interactions, but still loved it and wanted to come back every time.
Some people are introverts, right? Sometimes
he
people
is not an introvert unless he was
people.
just that drunk every time he came and it spilled out. I don't know. Okay. He was not an introvert.
Well, there's different type.
There is definitely
I'm
different.
just trying to say there's different.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're gonna have I think at any Soy Bomb show you got like 30% wallflowers.
He was comfortable enough to keep coming back, so
yes, and liked it. Understood. To him, it wasn't a party. To him, there's that aspect to it, but he was watching every fucking band, right? Like,
yeah.
There's you definitely. We definitely had converts. Converts of what? I don't know, but like DIY post hardcore. That's the other thing too. Not everything at Soy Bomb was DIY post hardcore. We had a slew of different things. I think.
Well, this is something that is plaguing me. I want to know about some of these events that like led to the thing. So like I heard about Soya Prom. What was Soy Prom?
Okay. What?
And how did that start up?
It started out as a joke in the house. So it was Max, Andy, Katie, Sam, maybe less so Sam, and Paul, and maybe less so Paul. And they just wanted
like none of us got to go to prom. Let's have our own prom.
I mean, I think that's what it. I mean, proms aren't as big a thing in Ontario as they are in the States, right? It's not. It's like it's a cultural thing we all understand, and it's done in some cases in Canada and Ontario. But it's not necessarily the norm. There was no proms when I grew up. You know, we didn't have proms in Bracebridge because it's a different, like it's an American culture thing, right? But anyway, so the idea was, I think the idea of the prom, and I hated the for the record, when the guys wanted to do it, I was like, this is stupid. I'll help you to organize it to make sure it's not going to be fucking shitty, but I hate it. Because the whole idea was that it's like fucking popular music. It's all the stuff I hate. And everyone gets all gussied up. And I get it more now than I did at the time. but like I've always been a creature of subculture. I don't want to revel even in a sarcastic like tongue-in-cheek way mainstream culture, because I hate mainstream
like
culture.
Emo night at Sticky D's.
Yes, I hate it. I fucking hate like mainstream culture. Like, because again, there's reasons for this. I could get into that. Like, it goes deeper and deeper, but we don't need to. Just know that I hate mainstream culture. And so Soy Plum flirted with mainstream culture in a way I didn't like. It was like, but there are ways I get it too, because at Soy Prom, we have adults and young adults that get to come and make popular culture their own for a moment. Queer people, people who were poor, people who maybe were lonely and didn't have friends and lovers when they're in high school. There is an aspect of people getting to reclaim. I wasn't cognizant of this at the time. I just hated the fucking concept.
It makes sense to me how you're saying it.
Yeah, I fucking hated the concept of it, but I understood after the fact.
You did like.
Let's
talk about pierogi parties.
Okay, pierogi. Okay, well, here's the thing. Soy Prom was still an open event to the public. Pierogi parties, I mean, we would have let anyone come in, but they weren't marketed to the masses. It was more like
where did the idea come from? I love this idea.
Well, how did it for... Okay. I'm quarter Polish. I love fucking pierogis. I grew up with my Oma's like homemade pierogis. I have almost a pierogi fetish. It's disturbing. I'm on a diet. I can't eat pierogies. It sucks, but it's part of my soul missing right now. I love fucking pierogies. They're the perfect fucking
great,
food.
Though.
Yeah, and the fact that you can change
and you can
the
make
innards
so many different ways.
Yes,
you can make them like in hundreds of ways. You can make savory ones, and you can make sweet dessert ones, and you can make all kinds. But like, what were they? What kind of? How did these describe a party for me?
So there's a little quick evolution. At some point,
Woodford told me this thing. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I want to know more about
we called them pierogi conferences. I'll get to that. And the first and what happened is one day I'm in the kitchen. I was like, what if I took some like South Asian like Indian curry and mix it with I'll make some pierogis, and once I boil them I'll fry them up with some onions and I'll add the curry, and I was like, oh my fucking god, this is the greatest fucking thing ever. Like, and then because like in like Indian cooking, you might have like a yogurt, like a raita to have to like calm any burn if it's too spicy. And in pierogi in Eastern European culture, you have sour cream. And so it was a given that you just have like curry, pierogi. And so I did it. And I'm like, I've done fusion. I've done Polish Indian fusion, right? And I was like, and I told this to people and like even like had friends sample it. Now there's events that predate the pierogi conferences, like sword and sake nights and stuff, but that's neither here nor there. I should Calen
comes out of something.
Calen, make a note and remind me to get you pictures of sword and sake night, because you're going to want a picture of the spread. You're going to want it. Trust me.
I'll be emailing you a whole bunch of requests for photos.
Okay, but also use WhatsApp, because I barely check my emails. Anyways,
yes.
So sword and sake nights, that idea of having friends together based on a theme, using that theme as an impetus to do something fun and goofy with your friends, just to get everyone together and just enjoy doing something fun and goofy. That started like at Soy Bomb, sword and sake nights we did first. Later, after talking about this pierogi fusion of melding South Asian cuisine with like Eastern European cuisine, and then someone brought up like we could also do this and that. I can't remember what the combinations were. And it's like, oh my god, we could have representatives of every nation doing like pierogi cooking. Well, and then that's where the joking name came up, a pierogi conference. I think James from Titan might have been one of the people who helped iron out that name. So we called them. So it's a potluck. The idea is that it's a potluck, and everyone brings their own traditional or fusion pierogi dish. Sometimes people prepare the United Nations of pierogis, and so
how many? Do you recall some of the ones that?
Did Woodford tell you his? He's got to be proud of it. He did pierogi poutine. He's the first person to do pierogi poutine. Whereas poutine with pierogis instead of French fries.
Did he make a vegan one?
Yes. He did a vegan and a non-vegan one. Brilliant. Oh, wow. Or a vegetarian one, anyways. We did. Suzanne did German-Malaysian. She's like part Malaysian, part German. She did a German-Malaysian pierogi where it was I think it was possibly a mango and sweet potato inside, and then as a maple walnut on top that she did. It was very decadent.
Oh my gosh.
And what else
We
did
should
we
have
have?
started with this.
We had sushi pierogies, like Daryl did sushi pierogies. Yeah, I don't even remember how he did it, but he did.
like raw fish inside.
Well, it was always vegetarian. So the whole point was that like everyone should make their dishes vegan and at least vegetarian, because some people in attendance will be vegan, and if you make it omnivorous, they won't be able to try it, right? So you're limiting your because this is the thing, is everyone gets a little bit try hard when you're trying to make some fun pierogi dishes.
What was the sushi one made out of?
Like rice and probably seaweed
crab.
and maybe
seaweed.
but seaweed is enough to give it like that ocean flavor. But Paul did a pizza pierogi, which is like a pizza pocket, but it's like handmade with a pierogi dough and then like and then boiled, and then
did everyone know how to make pierogi dough?
Well, usually on some of the pierogi conferences, I would make a big thing of pierogi dough, and everyone would bring their own filling and share it if they were preparing it at Soy Bomb. And it's so time consuming too. It's like there's a reason why all the Polish grandmas have like pierogi making bees like once every other month, because they just sit there and just.
About this.
With that,
I thought about this a lot. Where every culture, not this specifically, but every culture has a dumpling.
True.
Every culture has some kind of dough with a filling in it. So it really is applicable to a lot of different cuisines, because you know, you have Tibetan momos, you have Chinese dumplings, and you have Japanese gyoza. They're all kind of the same thing.
Estonians, which are not far from Poland, have a thing called pirukad.
It's so close, pirukad, and like and the Ukrainians have velenki, and then in and I think I guess that's Russian Ukrainian, because I think in Russia it's like valenki.
Oh
There's variations,
sure.
like that
The
whole
difference.
area. It's similar but different, but close. You can trace the like
What are they in
nomenclature.
Romania?
I don't know. Hey Google, what is Romania's dumpling?
They're called
Sorry,
galushte.
I don't understand.
Fuck you, Google. I hate Google. Okay.
It's called galushka.
Is it?
Galushte. Yeah.
Galushka.
That's wild. What's in it? What's the traditional filling?
It's like usually, you can fill it with whatever kind of. It's because, you know, a lot of these cuisines come out of like poverty. It's like whatever you have, any kind of like dough. Well, but just whatever you have. Sometimes it's just dough, and you like put it in like soup dumplings or something like that. It
all predates capitalism. It all comes from feudal era, and it all comes from peasantry. It's all peasant food, right? And so it's whatever's left over after harvest at whatever time of year. That's what you have, right? That's why pierogies in Poland are just generally potatoes and dough. It's like,
what you have.
Potatoes keep a long time, so you usually have a lot of potatoes in your cellar.
Just to tie this all together,
We're going all over the place.
I think these no, but this is so much fun. These events, these like non-show events, are kind of just the same thing. It's just like an excuse to get people together, and just make these connections. And that's just kind of what we're seeing over and over again with like, what's another way we can get people together? Well, maybe it's not like putting on a show, but maybe it's just around food, which is like, you know, how people have been gathering for thousands and thousands of years. But it's a community thing, to bring people together, community build, and you know, sometimes it's people that you know intimately, sometimes it's people whoever walks through the door.
Yes, absolutely. Because having a stranger participate and making them feel welcome and getting them as excited as you are, that's an amazing feeling. Like a lot of these events are very selfish for me too. Like I've always had the heart of an adventurer, and I want to adventure with my friends. I want to adventure with people that are as excited as I am to adventure. So these stupid things, they're like simulations of adventures. None of us are chefs. We're not home cooks. We're not nonas. We're going to attempt some cooking in some uncharted territory to have an adventure. In this case, it's pretty low stakes, but it's an adventure, and I'm adventuring with like-minded adventurers. Like 4-year-old me like squeals at the idea, right? Like, and a lot of Soy Bomb has that vibe from my perspective too. It's always been selfish. I want to participate in this grand experience, but I could never do these things on my own. Not a fucking one of them. It would also be very lonely. Like, there's definitely a social aspect to a lot of this, but you also couldn't do it even if you wanted to. You have to have a communal, like, group think to, and I think if I have any skill in any of these endeavors, is trying to be the bridge. Like, I am usually the most annoying, like, again, not realizing it till recently, but I'm definitely a little bit on the spectrum. So my social awareness has not always been the most grand, right? And so I get overbearing. I'm leading the charge. I'm obnoxious. I'm enthusiastic and obnoxious.
And
yes.
And you're inviting, and those two things are infectious together.
But at the same time, I like to think that I always develop the skill along the way to look at everyone else's everyone in who's there, and try and do a vibe check and see how do I include them more. Like, I want everyone here to have a fun time. Like, I don't want to have a fun adventure and then have us sitting over there. It just looks like they really don't like it. That all of a sudden my adventure is less fun, right? So you need to, like, keep your finger on the pulse of the room, see what's happening, watch for, like, someone not feeling it, and go, what can I do to make them feel it? You know, maybe they can't. Like, maybe they've gone through a tragedy and they're going to be like that regardless. But they're here now, and it's my responsibility to fucking make a vibe. So I got to figure something out. So
I want to put a fine point on this because I think it's really important, and this is something that kind of struck me as I was thinking about, like, you know, what to how to kind of summarize what we're trying to do here. But it struck me as, like, the great irony of DIY is that it's never by yourself.
Yes.
You know, you're doing things yourself, but it's always with so many people around you, and you always need that support of everyone around you. And that's really how things get done. It says do it yourself, but it's also do it with everyone around you.
I think in the last 15 years in the underground, like, DIY hardcore scene, it became DIY also started to be adapted to DIT, do it together, right? That was a common acronym. Like, we're like, you know, the communal collective approach and understanding, like, having like this is our rudiment here. Like, we build off this idea where I think we are starting to reach a point in culture, and it's being ironed out in the smaller subcultures first, is that we have less of a need for rogues and mavericks now. You know, that those ideas of the lovable rogues and mavericks evolved into the horrific fucking demagogues like Elon Musk, you know, or even Donald Trump. Like the idea of rogues and mavericks have led us into dangerous waters. Where the idea is that if we have a community that's starting with the idea is that you're not doing it yourself the best you can with nothing, you're going to try and, like, overlap your ideas with your friends' ideas and your community members' ideas, and how your overlaps increases ability for it to be better, so that you present something better to you, your friends, your community, your neighbors, with a much more stronger, palatable presentation. I know I'm being very vague. I'm trying to keep this vague, right? But a presentation of whatever you're doing that can be taken more sweetly. People are like, God, that's pretty fucking cool. You're not just a kid building something with popsicle sticks and white glue. You've actually made something pretty fucking decent. And if you can impress somebody making something out of nothing, that also opens up doors to make more somethings out of nothings, right? If you're young enough, that's emboldening to make you want to have confidence in going and make shit. And if you're doing it with other people, the more people with, like, different perspectives and skills working together on a project, the more likely your project's going to be more presentable and more acceptable and more...
It's going to be road tested because you've built it together. Yeah,
with nothing at the start, right? And so... So I think that collective model of approaching art and culture is eventually going to evolve into the collective model of how we govern ourselves as a society. I think like anarcho-communists are going to eventually be, I think, the model. Like, not, there's so many competing fucking theories of like political social organization and so many like forks off of like these concepts, but I do think that like anarcho-communism is going to be, you know, one of the more successful models for like the futures of society. And we see that in practice in various, like Rojava in like northern Syria, and how certain autonomous zones in various places, but Rojava in particular. And I look at Rojava and I see the Toronto DIY post-hardcore community that revolved around me. Not I was the center of revolutions. It's just where my perspective, I see all these things happening. So it's not that I'm the center of an orbit. It's just that I perceive it all as an orbit around me, right? Yeah, and this cloud around me, the Oort cloud of art chaos that was like Toronto DIY, that organization of like the community becoming more aware of like how we behave, you know, like social standings, and how we're more equitable, how we're more conscientious of like others' shortcomings, and trying to make everyone's participation more where everyone's seeing at the same level. Like that vibe, which is I've experienced in DIY community for like a couple decades now. I've seen that manifest unrelated to hardcore whatsoever. It's something like Rojava in northern Syria. We have these autonomous like self like governing like groups. In fact, if anyone does not know about Rojava, learn about Rojava. I highly recommend the Behind the Bastards. Oh no, it's not Behind the Bastards. It's a solo podcast by Robert Evans called The Women's War. Everyone should listen to The Women's War at the very least. If you're not going to be curious about anything else about Rojava, you need to listen to The Women's War. Like, you absolutely do. It's like 10 episodes. Yeah, it's 10 episodes. Everyone in the world needs to listen to that. It is a blueprint for communal success. Like, and it's wild too, is it's very like, it's not Western as well, right? Like it's largely based in like Kurdish revolutionary like traditions, but it is his own thing. And actually, it's also like lifts a lot from Murray Bookchin from the 60s, who was like a 60s counterculture anarchist, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
So if you haven't looked too much into Rojava, you can Murray Bookchin plays a part. So
yeah, he applied anarchism to a lot of urban studies theories.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's interesting to me.
I mean, I think what's grown out of his work is the idea of what is it? Radical municipalism? Is that what it's called? Is it radical municipalism?
I don't know this. Tell me about
municipalism. Where the idea where instead of trying to change our like hierarchical structures, we focus our anarchism on the down low and change our communities. Change like petition your municipal governments to do things that are more thoughtful, but encourage and have like your communities participate. I mean, it sounds like just regular municipal organizing, but in a way that like considers things that aren't normally considered, right? Like all kinds of like special interest groups go out there and like petition their municipal governments to like do things, and most of them are kind of shitty because they're special interests. But if you have like an anarchist way of like organizing community without telling everyone that, hey, you're all anarchists now, just like have everyone go like, these are the things we need. How do we do them? And make sure it includes everybody. Like, this person needs that person needs that. I wish I was better at being an ambassador for this, because I barely skim the concepts. I'm doing a really horrible job right now. But radical.
No, I think the most anyone can do is like introduce
insightful
concepts and
ideas. To me, it's insightful.
But that idea,
I find it
idea of organizing like in a municipal capacity comes out of Murray Bookchin's stuff. I know that much.
Yeah, to me, I have always wondered, was there a philosophy behind soy bomb?
Right. Well, the philosophy is very. Look, soy bomb that space didn't exist for wanting to put on shows. It existed to have like some place to sleep and having a skateboard ramp. Like that was the main impetus in 2003, right? But it turned out that a lot of my other interests were palatable to other people, and everyone was interested in working in directions of having fun celebrating those interests, right? And along the way we learned to do it better and better and better, you know? And while I might have been the core participant that stayed throughout, it always was a we. And in fact, if you've noticed all the time we've spoken together now, you probably, I'm not sure if you've noticed or not, but I rarely say me. When it comes to soy bomb, it's very often us and we. Because I'm very fucking aware that there would be nothing that ever happened at soy bomb if it wasn't for the enthusiasm or at least permission of many fucking people, right? It's never been I or me. Yeah. It's always been collective in some capacity. And as soy bomb grew, my awareness of this grew. And I think me slowly getting more and more educated about like social political issues also let me transfer those ideas more inward to my own life and immediate living scenario, and how I could be a better organizer at soy bomb. I think that's how soy bomb lasted so long. I mean, like, yes, I was the singular obsessed weirdo that could not let go, right? Like, I'm if I'm not nothing at all, I'm a skeletal structure that would not give up, right? That's
sure. But
that's
also,
my
soy
role.
bomb existed for a period of time without you.
Yes. Well, it wouldn't have existed. Yeah. Again, this is coming. I hate to do this because it is coming to me, but like I built everything at soy bomb, so that couldn't have existed without my construction.
Yeah.
I thought about these concepts too, right?
It's okay to take credit. Yeah.
It's like, 'cause I realized, I see
both.
But
I see both, and I don't think that I think that they can coexist.
So this has always been the internal struggle at soy bomb too, the collective versus the personal, because I made a lot of sacrifices and paid a lot of money and spent a lot of time and did a lot of work to make soy bomb something people would want to be part of. But I never did that so I could lord it over people. But after a certain amount of time, as other people come and go, and I'm the only remaining person, and no one else has any investment in the space, it becomes like, after a certain amount of years, it's like, oh, it's all 90% Jay's stuff. So there's got to be a weird fucking like vibe because of that too, right? Like, even when I'm not there, even when I'm like wanting to kill myself for a couple of years because of like loss, and I'm not there at soy bomb every day like I used to be, that ghost of me, this being all Jay's shit, is got to be a thing that's present in how everyone feels about soy bomb, right? So as much as it's collective and where it's collective, I always want to encourage the collective. There has to be, I wish it was equal sacrifice. I wish it was equal participation. I wish, for my own sake, everyone else had put in as much work in it as I did. I hate that sometimes that is like, it's all me. I've said this in the past too. Like if soy bomb was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. I didn't build a better business in my industry where I could be worth like millions of dollars right now if I'd focus on my business and not soy bomb. For example, I'd be in a much more comfortable life right now if it wasn't for soy bomb. I'm not saying that's what I wanted, although there are days now when there's no soy bomb. I have nothing to show for soy bomb. Does that make sense? I put all this time and money in the space, and then here we are 10 years. You'll have
a nice book.
I have a busted hip. I have a busted hip. I can't do anything with that like clout, and my life would be so much more comfortable and enjoyable, like on a comfort level. if I had not focused on soy bomb. I'm saying I shouldn't have.
There's an influence.
But
There's an
that's-
influence that soy bomb had on culture and continues to have to this day. And I think you can be proud of that.
I hope so.
For being part of that.
But
yes, you can be proud of that.
But it's,
you could be happy. I mean, the thing is, people try and figure out how to do change management all the time, and you achieved it in ways that people are still trying to figure out.
I think, like you say about the change management, I think it's a mixture of things. I think, like, you know, having grown up a bit of a weirdo and sensitive and unsure, so therefore studying everything around me to trying to make sure things are going to be right makes you,
you have the right skills,
makes you
right
sensitive to empathy, makes you like, you know, I might roll over people in moments where I'm not being very empathetic because I just don't see it. Perspective plays a lot, right? Like I still grow my perspective, right? I still do. Like, I think we all have to constantly learn and grow. There's no end to that. You don't ever plateau, you know? But
yeah, you did a thing.
I did a thing. And you know what? To me, the joy isn't that
people are grateful for it.
You know, we did a thing. I don't think looking back at it accounts for much for me. The joy of it.
Greater good.
The joy of it was doing it at the time. Everything, like so much, like any forethought that was put into work at Soy Bomb was forethought in just to maintaining that thing we're enjoying at that moment, right? Right? We want to keep doing this thing, but we want to make it better. But we want to keep doing this thing. And we're doing this work now. And actually, that's not true. I do enjoy the work. I do enjoy the process. I love the process. I fucking love solving puzzles, and I love actively being the guy that physically solves the puzzle, not just strategizing the solving of the puzzle. I love all aspects of that. Solving the puzzle, doing the work to finish the puzzle, and then enjoying the moment of the puzzle, and then forgetting about it and moving on. Like there's no at no point in Soy Bomb. And I think you could ask this to most people who know me over the years of Soy Bomb. We never talked about things we did in the past. We never thought like, oh, that big crazy gig we did last year. We were never talking about what we did. We're always talking about what we wanted to do. Yeah, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? How are we going to do it? What can we do? Oh, this band's going to come. Well, what are we going to do to make that special? You know,
and always doing it together, which I think is the main.
Because there's no fun doing it by yourself. There's no
here.
Fun.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, a beautiful place to kind of cap this all off, which is, you know, this is a massive endeavor. It's called DIY, but it wasn't one person. It was a whole collective, people constantly working. So, yeah, DIT, exactly.
Sometimes BIT, people are pushing against you instead of with you, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But those are the things you have to navigate, you know? Yeah. DIT.
Totally. DIT, that's the main takeaway for me.
Did you guys notice my new microphone? Sorry.
I did not notice, but you sound great.
I got the lower end version of the Shure podcast mic.
It sounds great.
Oh god. Sorry.
All right. Dude, thank you so much for four long conversations.
Yeah. You think you guys have what you want? I'm game to talk. If you guys want to approach anything,
I don't know if we do, but we'll probably come back to you.
Yeah. If you guys put anything else together, like, oh, we should maybe figure this out or that out, I'm game.
I gotta run through all the transcripts.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, I know you'll probably only use 5% of it at best. Like, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, but it'll be, like I said, all killer, no filler, man. I mean, it's gonna be the best.
So many anecdotes still to cover. I guess anecdotes can come out in other formats later. I do want to make content myself. Like, the reason why I asked you guys to like participate in this live stream format is because I want this to lead into more content creation related to Soy Bomb, because I do want to have a document. My memory fades daily. Like, it's use it or lose it, like everything in life. If you're not like maintaining your skills, maintaining your stories, if you're not relishing in those moments, and constantly reinforcing those memories, they disappear. How many times in our conversations have I forgotten names of something? Names that are actually really important too, right? It's use it or lose it. So I do feel an urgency to document all of the interesting things that happened before it's gone. That makes sense. I need to document. So I do want to make content.
The book will document. The book will live on. Yeah. We're going to try to cram as much amazing stuff in there as possible, but it's also good. We're going to make it make sense. It's going to be like a narrative, like something you can read and flip through.
If it were a nice poster, a nice goofy poster with a quote on the bottom of it, I'd be stoked with that. You know what I mean? I just like cool shit. That's
it's going to be a fucking awesome book. Cool, man. Dude, thank you so much for your time again.
Well, thanks for listening to me, guys.
Oh, thank you. And if anything,
dude, I could do this every week.
Content creation wise, if you need us to come back on for your own stuff, no problem. Just let us know. You've given us so much of your time. I'm happy to offer my time.
Well, I'll give you guys. I'll give you guys as much room now as you need to, collect all the data. I'm sure there'll be some follow-ups here and there. But if and when you're interested, I'm more than happy to talk about this stuff anytime. If it would maintain a weekly hangout, I could do that. Yeah, that's true too.
Actually, over to your house and picking up a whole bunch of stuff. So
I have good tech for live streaming on location as well. So, like, still kind of lowbrow, but like we could have a meetup, say at Squirrelies. Do you know Squirrelies on Queen Street near where I live?
Yeah.
They have.
Where I met my wife.
Oh, really? That's awesome. That's where the Soy Bomb canvas banner went to, the big one that like multiple artists used over the years at Soy Bomb.
Wow.
That's there on their patio now. Anytime I meet someone, I want to bring them to Squirrelies now. So when the weather's nicer, maybe we have a live stream hangout talking about punk stories just in general, not just necessarily me and Soy Bomb related, but just punk stories in general.
I would love nothing more.
Yeah. I like the idea of like having these conversations and sharing. Because to me, I think doing this is the same effect as the influence Soy Bomb would have, because these anecdotes, I think, are informative and inspiring in their own to people trying to navigate their own approaches to their projects. Right? Might not be Soy Bomb, but whatever. They just Anyways,
I'm in. Name, time, and place. But I will be trying to schedule a pickup from your place for all sorts of stuff to scan, and that'll make its way into the book. So we'll get that going probably like later spring, early summer, when we're both a bit more mobile.
Yeah, that's mobile is the key.
Yeah. Okay, man. Dude, thank you so much again. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll keep chatting.
All right. And same, Stephen. And, if you want to continue conversations, just hang out, talking in the future like this, I'm game.
Cool. Thanks, Jay.
Amazing.
All right. Night, guys.
Okay. Thanks, dude.
And there we go. That's fun. It's weird that being the overall ending of the conversation for the book about Soy Bomb. There'll probably be some follow-ups. I do think with the meandering way, like, it is hard to cover all the interesting stuff, like from my perspective, that happened at Soy Bomb over the course of 20 years. Like I'll have anecdotes to talk about for years on the subject. And some of it isn't even directly at Soy Bomb too. Like, some of it's stuff that happened in my life that I think led to what became Soy Bomb. And those anecdotes I think are relevant too, but you can't always think of them all. And as you try to explain, like, you don't just say the idea of the event, you also want to, when you take out that thing that is that Soy Bomb memory, you don't just want to tell a story in a paragraph and move on. You kind of want to ruminate about it. I never ruminated about this stuff that much before. Now, when I think back on it, I think, there are ways of perceiving it that I didn't even really think of at the time. So it's fun to talk about these memories and elaborate on them in ways you never even, were mindful of in the first place. So, It is really, I really do enjoy talking about these things, because I also think when I talk about these things, I also develop for myself a new way of seeing these things and visualizing them and being able to put these things into words. I think like it makes me a better person for myself, being able to go out in the world and do other things when I get to like talk about this stuff. Because otherwise, when would I talk about this shit? How would I like form these ideas? Some of us need further extrapolation. Some really do. I do think like I do have the tendency to, someone asks me a question and I start to talk about it, and then I take the idea of what we're talking about. I'm like, wait, hold on a sec. And I grab it and I put it on the table and I start to dissect it in real time, trying to understand, to get to the gut. Let's get to the guts of what we're talking about. Let's get into the most like minute detail, because I think, because I feel that this subject matter deserves to be explored, and even kind of take it to ways that are kind of boring too, but I can't help myself. Like, yeah, the cells of it all. They get out the microscope and the forceps, and we're gonna pick apart this idea, because we did do that, and let's all understand perfectly why, including myself. You know, let's put this to bed so that I just understand, and then once I understand why we did all this stuff, then I can talk about it in the future, where I don't have to talk about the incident, but I can instead talk about the concept. I think talking about the concepts, once you understand the concepts, you can then put the concepts into words. Like this is now we're getting philosophical. Like art and communication. I think that you're still trying to understand Soy Bomb. Yeah, I am. Soy Bomb was always a very sort of silly, selfish endeavor, where I was just trying to do this thing at the time and just focusing on that thing. Like, and realizing at one point that we couldn't, you know, there's a limit to the kinds of things we're doing, but that's cool. We'll just keep doing those things. It was always amazing. And you just focus on that one thing. Like it's never, there wasn't a point. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't feel like we were building an arc, you know? I didn't feel like we were, putting together a structure, like a construct to be taken seriously for any kind of repetition of endeavors, right? It was always just trying to do that thing at the time. And maybe along the way, if we're lucky, invest a little bit of time and energy and money to make it so that it's a little bit easier to do that thing next time, because we definitely understand at that point that we like to do this thing, right? And but there's never a very strong understanding of what it is we're trying to get at the time. We just, that sounds cool. Let's do this cool thing. We'll think about it later, right? We don't have time to think about it. We only have time to make it happen, I guess, you know? But now here we are years later. I do want to understand why it was important for us to do, why we look back and think, yeah, that was kind of important. More important than we thought of it at the time. You know, why? I do want to like pick apart at this cadaver and like make sense of it, you know, and then take that knowledge and convert that into, you know, some artisanal anecdotes that are able to like make more palatable like chunks of wisdom. You know what I mean? Like, I think what I want to see come out of Soy Bomb is a really good artistic understanding of what the fuck it was we did and how we could convert that into little vignettes of wisdom that, you know, can like be useful, I guess, you know, because none of it was ever done at the time with the idea of being useful. But yeah, make it transferable, make it understand, make it enjoyable, make it enjoyable. Like if you can look at when you're at a gig and this band that's not very well known, but is fucking phenomenal, not just in their ability to write and perform, but in shaping their sound, structuring their songs. Like there is an undercurrent of intellectualism in their approach to presentation. You're in that moment just letting it flow over you, overwhelm you, and make you just like float with the sheer like excitement of that. But when you're no longer in that experience, it is hard to like have that still make sense to you as a person, or to explain that to someone else. I think part of all is their own variation of a J or two. Well, I would like to think that if I can think back on the experiences of Soy Bomb and somehow create some little chunks of like, art or content that could be somewhat, maybe not entirely universal, but like some sort of like, maybe this is a product of me just being an old fucking person now and I just want shit to matter too. But I also think that if you like, there's one, like, I think if these conversations have shown me anything, it's that if you try and dissect the magic, you turn it into a long, boring conversation that people zone out of, and you might not get to the point in an interesting way that anyone's going to care about. People like dramatic presentation. People need an emotional connection to wisdom. People need to adapt their own psyche to an idea in order for that idea to be digestible and used, in a positive way in their lives. Like, I would like to figure out a way to get to the kernel of truth of what's important about what we did at Soy Bomb, and then turn those things into like little bits of content on their own, like maybe short form videos, maybe something that like kind of gets to the point rather nicely and elegantly, and like says what it needs to say succinctly, but gets to the point without too much like what I'm fucking doing now. Right? Soy Bomb web series. Well, this is the other thing too, is like, besides the imposter syndrome, I'm also well aware that like Soy Bomb has the idea of what Soy Bomb did and was has limited appeal to people in general, right? Like you either were a participant back in the day and you look upon it through like as a fond memory, as a, what do you call it, reminisce. You want to reminisce about it maybe and make you feel good that you did something fun. But beyond that, that doesn't have that same quality to the people who didn't participate. So it's taking these moments that we felt were important and trying to make it like more universal. You know what I mean? Like I'd like to think that what we did at Soy Bomb does have some meaning beyond our immediate like enjoyment at the time, and there's some kernels of like wisdom there that can be passed on, and there's kernels of wisdom everywhere. It's not like I'm imagining myself as a sole arbiter of like DIY wisdom because of the experiences I had. Like, I'm not even thinking about it in that context. Like, everyone has pearls of wisdom to pass on, and there's tons of content out there that does it, but I also want to make some of that content. So, but I think it's going to be a process of me figuring it out, like figuring out what I want that content to be. Like, I'm still, and like I said, what started this whole rant is I am still trying to understand what it was we did at Soy Bomb. You know what I mean? There's always like themes that it comes back to of why it worked. But I think there's potentially more to it, still have to figure that shit out. Because again, I think I'm also blinded by my own perspective as well, right? I think like talking with the guys also like sheds light on sometimes what we did from a point of view that I didn't imagine. So I think I need to collect that. I think I need to collect more points of view about Soy Bomb, so that helped me get closer to that kernel of wisdom. But I also want to do more than that. I also want to like, I like to create content not based on Soy Bomb, but based on the people I've met through Soy Bomb. Because I think there's a hell of a lot of interesting people out there that do some fucking, or are cool ass people that do cool ass shit. And I think just being able to like make a little vignette on those people and their moments it would be fun to do as an exercise. It would be fun to do. It'd be fun to do as an exercise. And if I can make content out of that, I'm also leaving behind a little document. I think that's important too, actually. You know, as we've been doing these conversations, as we try to collect, as we try and like figure out the dates and times and the who's and the whens, it becomes foggy and sometimes to the point of like lost. Like sometimes some of the info about what happened is lost. You know what I mean? And I would like to make some documents so that, you know, my memory goes, I go. Hopefully there's something out there that just like there's a reference, you know? And again, it's not that I think it's like super important. It's just that like it's nice to leave something behind, you know? Just some shiny pebble. People be like, oh, that's a nice shiny pebble. You know, that's kind of nice. I'm gonna leave some nice shiny pebbles behind. Yeah. It's not legacy. It's not legacy, man. If I have a personal legacy, it's making life miserable for Suzanne and making bad life choices. Like I said in the past, if I would have nice teeth if it weren't for Soy Bomb, because I would have spent the money on dentistry instead of Soy Bomb. You know what I mean? Like, what is my legacy? Short-sighted life choices, and it's still a legacy, making Suzanne miserable. Oh, it's true. Anyways, I think that's it for me. It's 10 o'clock. I need to have a snack and chill out and digest. Not the snack, but the conversation. You want to be the last word? I mean, I can see that. I just, from my perspective, the legacy of Soy Bomb doesn't seem to be all that important. You know? It's just a slightly different, skewed version of what has been done many times by many others, I feel. But who knows? Who goddamn knows? Anyways, yeah. Again, and all this like potential for creating content is also based on the schedule of like I can do stuff now because I'm like convalescing from a surgery, but in the future I'm gonna be fucking busy too. So content plays second fiddle or third fiddle even. Yep, that's right. Horse crisis for life. But yeah, some people came by to check shit out. So hello everyone who came by. Appreciate it. We'll see